Chapter 85. No, it can't be. Did I kill someone? The student with the bow and arrow was shivering and his face was pale. He had never experienced such a thing before and was at a loss of what to do. The other students of Jianghu Middle School looked at each other and didn't know what to do because they didn't expect that there were other people on this uninhabited island. Moreover, the other party's movements were so sneaky and silent, it was normal to be mistaken for a beast. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the blink of an eye, 5 or 6 figures appeared in the distance of the jungle, extremely fast, with a fierce momentum, and suddenly came in front of Xia Ping and others. One of them was a bald middle-aged man. He saw that his right arm was hit by an arrow, bleeding, and his face was ferocious. He glanced at the students around him and roared, "Who is it? Which son of a bitch dares to shoot me with a bow and arrow? Do you want to die? Tell me, do you want to die?" He roared like a tiger roaring, containing a monstrous sound wave, showing the tyrannical strength of the 8th heaven of martial arts, and suddenly suppressed Han Shan and others. Not only because the other party's voice was loud, but also because these dozen people were not good people at first glance. All of them wore small red vests and bulletproof jackets, revealing strong muscles and ferocious tattoos. Most importantly, they actually carried firearms, grenades, and were fully armed. Their bodies exuded a murderous aura. Obviously, these people had killed people. Compared with ordinary martial artists, these people obviously had an unusual murderous aura. Xia Ping's eyes flickered. He also felt that these people were not ordinary people. They seemed to be more ferocious than those underworld figures in Black Moon City. I'm sorry. The student with the bow and arrow trembled and said, I didn't mean to. With a bang, the bald middle-aged man stepped forward and slapped him. All of a sudden, the student was slapped to the ground and even one of his front teeth flew out, mixed with blood. One could imagine how powerful this slap was. If sorry works, then what the fuck do we need the police for? He stared at the student who fell to the ground with a sneer. The students of Jianghu Middle School were scared half to death. When had they ever met such a cruel person who attacked without saying anything? It was completely unreasonable. Aren't you going a little overboard? As the leader of this group of students, Han Shan braced himself and stepped forward. He stared at the bald man and wanted to voice his opinion. Bang! In an instant, one of the men picked up a laser gun and fired a shot at Han Shan's thigh. The bullet pierced through his leg and blood splattered everywhere. Ah! Han Shan let out a blood-curdling scream. How could he have imagined that his opponent would be so ruthless and so fast? Even in the face of a laser gun, he had no way of defending himself. All of a sudden, he hugged his thigh and rolled on the ground. The intense pain quickly spread throughout his body. He had never felt such pain in his 18 years of life. The students of Jianghu Middle School were all shocked and terrified. Too much? He tried to kill me with an arrow just now and I just slapped him. You said that I'm too much. Now do you still think I'm too much? Just tell me, do you think I'm too much? The bald man smiled ferociously and stared at Han Shan and the others. The group of men also sneered. They looked at the people of Jianghu Middle School as if they were looking at prey. The black muzzles were pointed at them. It seemed that if anyone dared to move, they would immediately shoot and kill them. Han Shan didn't dare to speak at all. A lot of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He finally understood that this group of people were simply outlaws. Trying to reason with them was simply courting death. Who are you people? This is an uninhabited island. How did you appear here? A student of Jianghu Middle School couldn't help but ask. The bald man smiled slightly. Even if I told you, you wouldn't know me. I'm from the Cheetah Group. Although they were a very famous group of bandits, they were only famous among the police. Most ordinary people didn't know them. After all, ordinary people were already worried about their own lives. How could they have the leisure to care about other things? What? You're from the Cheetah Group? Isn't this a very famous bandit group recently? They've committed all kinds of crimes and killed countless people. Recently, it seems that because of the robbery of the treasury, 16 people were killed and 10 injured. Now they're being hunted by the police. How did you appear here? A student was shocked. He seemed to have heard of the reputation of the Cheetah Group. Hearing this, the other students were shocked again and again. This group of people really weren't good people. They were actually all wanted criminals. Han Shan's intestines were green with regret. If he knew that there was such a group of ruthless people in the depths of the forest, he wouldn't have followed this shameless bastard Xia Ping here even if he was beaten to death. But it was too late to say anything now. After falling into the hands of this group of criminals, how could he still have a life? Interesting. You're quite knowledgeable as a student. How do you know about us? Could it be that our reputation is already well known? The bald man and the others were very surprised. The student trembled and said, "My father is a police officer. So that's how it is." The group of people suddenly came to a realization. No wonder this kid was so familiar with the cheetah group. It turned out that it was because of his family background. If his father was a police officer, then it wouldn't be strange for him to know similar information. Every debt has a debtor. I didn't expect to find a police officer's son. Our luck is really good. The bald man looked at the student with a ferocious expression. Seeing such a ferocious gaze, the student was scared to the point of peeing. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have revealed his identity. His father's identity as a police officer was innately opposed to those bandits. It could be said that there was a grudge between the two sides. Now that he had fallen into the hands of this group of bandits, he wouldn't have a good ending. Don't act recklessly. Our teacher is near this island, and there's also a martial arts expert. If we press the help button and the teacher comes to rescue us, you will definitely die. The student stuttered. The bald man laughed and said, "Presumably some of you secretly pressed the help button just now. Let me ask you, has your teacher come to rescue you now?" A look of disdain appeared on his face because they had already set up a large number of information jammers near the island to intercept the transmission of the help signal. Hearing this, someone's expression changed drastically because from the moment this group of people attacked Han Shan, he had been constantly pressing the help button, but until now there was no response from his watch. In other words, the nearby signal must have been intercepted by this group of criminals, and no information could be transmitted. Chapter 86. It's over, it's completely over now. The students of Jianghu Middle School fell into a desperate mood. Even if they were the children of powerful families, even if they had a bright future and excellent aptitude for these desperados, it was simply dog shit. These murderers don't care about their lives at all. How could they be afraid of their family background? Their background. In other words, if necessary, these murderers would not hesitate to kill them. Damn it, it's all that bastard Xiaoping's fault. We were completely killed by him. If this guy didn't walk around randomly and go deep into the jungle, how could we meet this group of murderers? A group of students of Jianghu Middle School were extremely sad and indignant. They regretted it to the extreme. If they knew it, they wouldn't have paid attention to Xiaoping. But now they were brought into a desperate situation by this guy and fell into the hands of this group of murderers. If they could still survive after that, it would be a blessing. After all, they were students. How could they be the opponents of this group of martial artists at the 8th and 9th heavenly layers with a lot of weapons on them? If they really dared to resist, they would be slaughtered in a face-to-face confrontation. Han Shan's face was pale, and he blamed himself to the extreme. If it weren't for his willfulness and following this bastard Xiaoping around, he wouldn't have entered this dangerous place. Now, because of an accident, all the students of Jianghu Middle School have to die on this uninhabited island. Even if they have power and a bright future, so what? If they die, it's just a corpse, not even a fart will be left. Hey, it seems that you know your situation. The bald man smiled. It's your bad luck to meet us. No, it should be lucky. After all, teachers like us are hard to find even if you have money. If there's a chance to teach you a lesson, it will definitely benefit you endlessly. The other murderers all had a ferocious face, looking at this group of students with a hint of coldness in their eyes. The students of Jianghu Middle School didn't have any mood to laugh. Falling into the hands of this group of murderers, they only felt despair, endless despair, and panic in their hearts. But first, let's teach some high school girls a lesson. This is a lesson for adults. I guarantee that you will remember it for the rest of your life. The bald man greedily looked at the girls from Jianghu Middle School. Girls from a private school like this had pretty faces and dignified manners. Most importantly, they exuded a youthful aura, which was not something those women who often hung around could compare to. Those villains usually hid from place to place and lived like dogs. How could they have the chance to meet such a woman? Now that they had met one, their eyes were filled with an ominous glint and incomparable desire. Immediately, the faces of a few girls from Jianghu Middle School turned pale and their bodies trembled. They knew that if they were to fall into the hands of these villains, they would definitely suffer inhumane torture. They all looked at the male students beside them with pleading eyes. However, the surrounding students all lowered their heads and avoided each other's gazes, feeling very guilty. After witnessing the power of those villains just now, who would dare to stand out? Just now, Han Shan had stood out and had one of his legs broken. This was a lesson for him. Although they were classmates, their relationship wasn't necessarily that good. At the very least, it wasn't at the level of being friends for life and death. They were just acquaintances. How could they exchange their lives for others? Not to mention, in this kind of situation, even if they exchanged their lives, it might not have any effect. Immediately those girls despaired. Their eyes revealed helplessness. They no longer had the arrogance and insufferably arrogant attitude they had before. Boss, I think those two girls over there are not bad. One of them is especially fresh and has an otherworldly temperament. Even the school belle from my high school couldn't compare to her. One of the villains laughed mischievously and stared at Jianghu. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Immediately the group of villains noticed Jianghu. Their eyes immediately lit up. Even among the crowd of girls, this girl was extremely outstanding. The other girls simply couldn't compare to her. She was like a crane in a flock of chickens. Not bad, not bad. This girl is not bad. When I'm done enjoying myself, it'll be your turn to have some fun. The bald man laughed mischievously. I'm a very generous person. After I eat the meat, there will definitely be soup for you to drink. Thank you, big brother. The group of villains were all bootlicking. Just what do you want? Seeing the bald man walk over, Jianghu frowned. Her heart was very uneasy. She wanted to find a way to leave this place. However, these villains were strong and had guns on them. Before she could even take a few steps, her legs would be broken by a single shot. Even someone as strong as Han Shan, who was at the 8th heavenly layer of martial disciple, wouldn't be able to resist. Zhu Erqin's face was also deathly pale. She didn't expect to encounter such a thing. What do I want? Looks like you're still a virgin. You actually don't know what I'm here for? The bald man was even more satisfied. Don't worry, I'll slowly teach you later. Jianghu gritted her teeth. Even if she had to perish together with these villains, she absolutely didn't want to be humiliated. Suddenly, a figure stood in front of Jianghu. The group of people were shocked to the extreme. Looking over, they saw Xia Ping standing in front of Jianghu. He faintly said to the bald man, "You guys are the cheetah group, right? Give me some face and leave. They aren't women that you can touch." Jianghu was dumbfounded. She didn't think that Xia Ping would actually stand out at this time. One had to know that the people from Righteous Virtue High School were usually arrogant and insufferably arrogant. Faced with this kind of situation, they were scared to the point of losing their balls. They wanted nothing more than to be ostriches and curl up on the ground. But now, this shameless, lecherous guy actually dared to come out. The students from Righteous Virtue High School were sneering in their hearts. This kid came out, but what use was that? After coming out, he was still humiliated by these villains. He clearly knew that he wasn't their match, yet he still dared to stand out and act like a hero. He was too stupid. Han Shan was also looking down on him in his heart. He didn't think that this kid would end up well. If he angered these villains, even his head would be blown off. He couldn't be more dead. Give you some face? Hearing this, the bald man laughed loudly. Who the fuck do you think you are? The president's son? You want me to give you some face? Why won't you give me some face? And you still say that they aren't women that I can touch? So what if I touch them? Are you going to fucking bite me? As soon as he finished speaking, he looked at Xia Ping with disdain. His hand reached out, wanting to grab Jianghu. But at this moment, Xia Ping suddenly made his move. Like a viper, he tore through the air and turned his palm into a blade. Snake fist, viper comes out of its hole. Bang. Chapter 87. The bald man's entire body froze. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief, fear, and unwillingness. He never thought that this brat would dare to attack him. Moreover, he didn't even have time to react and was killed in an instant. It wasn't his fault. Xia Ping's attack was just too fast, like a viper hunting for prey. Moreover, he wasn't on guard at all. He was only 2 meters away from Xia Ping. With such a short distance and such a fast speed, how could he block it? With a thud, the bald man's huge body fell to the ground like an iron tower. With a loud sound, dust flew up and blood dripped onto the ground, dyeing it red. I said, if you move, you'll die. Xia Ping indifferently looked at the bald man's fallen body. You didn't listen, so you died. The students of Righteous Middle School were all stunned. This kind of change was too terrifying, too shocking. Who would have thought that this guy would dare to attack? Moreover, as soon as he attacked, he was merciless. In an instant, he killed the bald man and destroyed his heart. This kind of method, this kind of ruthlessness, how could an ordinary person do it? Han Shan was also dumbfounded. Even if you beat him to death, he wouldn't have thought that Xia Ping would dare to do such a thing. Jianghu and Zhu Erqin were also dumbfounded. They also didn't think that Xia Ping would be so ruthless. Without any hesitation he killed the criminal in one move, showing no mercy. Damn bastard, you're courting death. Seeing this scene, the group of criminals simply went crazy. Seeing their brother killed by this guy in one move, they couldn't bear this scene at all. Bang. As soon as he finished speaking, one of the criminals pulled the trigger and accurately shot at Xia Ping. He wanted to kill this hateful guy in one shot and pierce his heart. However, Xia Ping's spiritual force had already spread out in all directions. He knew the surrounding 10 meters like the back of his hand. His figure flashed, and in an instant he dodged the shot. With a bang, the laser gun shot at a big tree in front of him. On the spot, the tree, which was as thick as the mouth of a bowl, was split in two. Just like that, it fell down and the hole in the tree was charred black. One could imagine how powerful this shot was. How is this possible? He actually dodged this shot? The gunman couldn't believe his eyes because he was also a sharpshooter, and his accuracy was almost 100%. Anyone who was targeted by him would die, but this kid actually dodged it. But what he didn't know was that Xia Ping had already cultivated his spiritual power and could sense his surroundings. Although his speed was not as fast as a laser, he could perceive the shooter's movements, the speed at which the shooter pulled the trigger, the angle of the shooting, and so on. As long as he could grasp this point, he would know where the laser was coming from and dodge in advance. This was the terror of the martial artist realm and the terror of controlling spiritual energy. It could be said that the cicada sensed the autumn wind before it moved. Even if there were a dozen gunmen shooting at the same time, they would not be able to kill a martial artist realm expert. Even some martial disciple realm experts with extremely strong reflexes and instincts to sense danger could do this. This was already the embryonic form of mastering a trace of spiritual power. However, Xia Ping was not this type of expert because he had already mastered mental energy. None of these criminals' movements could escape his mental energy scan. Crane fist, flying crane soars. In the instant that the criminal shot, Xia Ping dodged and his entire body turned into a flying crane. In an instant he arrived beside the criminal, turned his hand into a crane's beak and forcefully pecked. With a bang, this peck produced a terrifying penetrating force. In an instant, it exploded on the criminal's throat. With a poochie sound, blood splattered everywhere like a fountain. Ugh, ugh, the criminal's eyes widened, revealing a look of horror and unwillingness. He covered his already leaking neck and fell to the ground, dead. Damn it, kill him, shoot him to death. The remaining 4 criminals were shocked and angry. In the blink of an eye, 2 of their companions had been killed by this kid. How could this be? All of them were about to go crazy with anger. They picked up their guns and wanted to shoot wildly. Bang! Without waiting for them to make a move, Xia Ping trampled the ground with one foot, like a wild elephant trampling on the ground. A terrifying tremor occurred within a radius of 100 meters. The ground swayed and even several trees collapsed. A huge pit appeared on the ground. Several rocks on the side were shattered and countless gravel appeared. How could the 4 criminals have expected this? They were suddenly caught off guard and couldn't stand steadily. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Xia Ping grabbed with his big hand and immediately grabbed 2 or 3 stones. Just like that, he threw them, breaking through the air and making a sharp piercing sound. In an instant, 3 of the criminals' chests were pierced. Ah! They screamed and fell to the ground just like that. The remaining one was shocked and angry. In just a few breaths, 5 of his companions were killed by the opponent. He was the only one left. This kind of tragic situation, even if he was beaten to death, he couldn't imagine it. Damn bastard, since you want to kill me, then let's die together. The criminal went crazy. He actually wanted to pull the grenade on his waist and detonate it on the spot. He wanted to die together. Everyone was shocked. They all knew how terrifying this grenade was. It seemed to be called a vibrating grenade, and was specially used to deal with monsters with tyrannical defense. Once this kind of grenade exploded, everything within a radius of several hundred meters would be affected and razed to the ground. Even if they didn't die, they would be seriously injured. At this time, Jianghu, who was standing in the back, moved. Her movement was like a bolt of lightning. She suddenly made a move and her jade-like white palm lightly patted. Bang! An explosion sounded out in the air. The slap landed on the criminal's back. In an instant, his spine was smashed into pieces. His entire body was sent flying like a cannonball. He flew more than 10 meters, smashing through 3 or 4 trees in succession before finally stopping. But when he finally stopped, his lungs had been smashed into pieces. He was already dead. This. The group of Righteous Virtue middle school students were all shocked. They were scared half to death. This girl looked very weak, but they didn't expect her to be so ruthless as soon as she attacked. Was alive. No wonder she was this shameless Xiaoping's girlfriend. The two of them were basically the same kind of person. Han Shan, who had a broken leg, was also trembling a bit. Wasn't it a bit inappropriate to pursue a woman like this? If he wasn't careful, he might be beaten half to death. Xiaoping was also a bit surprised. He also didn't expect Jianghu to be so fierce as soon as she attacked. She didn't have the slightest psychological barrier. After killing one person, Jianghu was also a bit scared. But in that kind of situation there was no other way. Either this criminal died or they died. There was no room for hesitation. Do. Chapter 88. Hey, at this time a rough voice came out of the communicator. Baldy, what's the situation on your side? Answer me immediately. Everyone held their breaths. They were in awe. They didn't expect these criminals to have accomplices. What's wrong? Baldy, why aren't you answering? Did something happen? Do you need backup? The voice paused for a moment, feeling a little strange, so it asked again. Bang. Xiaoping quickly stepped forward and crushed the communicator, turning it into fragments on the spot. Naturally, the stranger's voice couldn't be heard again. Oh no, these criminals have accomplices. Now that their companion has been killed, they'll definitely come back for revenge. Jiang Yaru's face was solemn. She immediately thought of the consequences. A student from Righteous Middle School said in fear, report to the teacher immediately. This is no longer a trial but a murder. If this continues, we'll definitely be killed. Don't joke around, how do we report to the teacher? Didn't you try it just now? The communicator on the watch can't transmit a signal, and the teacher on the ship doesn't know what's happening right now. Not necessarily, the other party's signal jammer must have a certain range. As long as we leave this range, we can use the signal to contact the teacher. Who knows how big this range is? Don't forget, we've already been targeted by that group of criminals. Their people will catch up at any time. I'm afraid you'll be killed by them before you even leave this range. Yeah, that group of criminals aren't ordinary criminals. They're armed to the teeth and have grenades. I'm afraid they also have snipers. They can kill us from a few kilometers away. If we don't run, what do we do? Stay here and wait for death? Many of the students were terrified, completely at a loss. They were all just students. When had they ever encountered such a life-and-death crisis? When had they ever been chased by such criminals? Everyone present couldn't help but look at Xiaoping, because it was this man who had just killed so many criminals and saved them. In this kind of situation, the opinion of the strong was worth listening to. There's no need to run. Xiaoping said indifferently, even if they don't come, I'll still go and kill them. He was very clear on one thing. In the cruel jungle, whoever dared to turn their back to the wolves would be the first to die. On the contrary, those who dared to risk their lives would be chased away by the jackals and wolves. Crazy, you're crazy? Han Shan looked at Xiaoping as if he was a madman and said, do you know who they are? They're from the cheetah group, a group that kills without batting an eye. There are dozens of them. All of them are at the 8th or even 9th layer of the martial disciple realm, fully armed. Just 5 or 6 of them are enough to kill us all, and you still want to kill them? You were only able to kill these people because they underestimated us and were careless. That's why you succeeded. Once they really notice you, you definitely won't be able to escape. I won't go crazy with you. I want to retreat and return to the flying shuttle to report this to teacher. He said what many people were thinking. In the face of such cruel criminals, few of them had the courage. Escaping was already a skill, but they actually wanted to kill the criminals. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? Forget it. Then let's go our separate ways. Don't follow us anymore. Xiaoping was too lazy to argue with them. He waved his hand and left with Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin. Wait, let's go together. At this time, 3 or 4 girls from Jianghu Middle School also left the line and followed them. Roland, are you crazy? You actually followed that group of idiots? Do you want to die? Han Shan and the others were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that these girls would make such a decision. The girl Roland sneered, I don't believe in your strength. If there's really danger, I'm afraid the few of us will be the scapegoats. If we stay, we'll just be cannon fodder for you. The other 2 or 3 girls also nodded. Obviously, what happened just now had made them completely see through the character of Han Shan and the others. They bullied the weak and feared the strong. If it was in peacetime, this might not be a big deal, but in this life-and-death situation, such a character was fatal. This. Han Shan and the others all lowered their heads, their faces incomparably ashamed. Their performance just now was indeed terrible. Seeing these girls about to be defiled, they didn't even dare to let out a fart. Compared to Xiaoping, they simply weren't men. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this time, Xiaoping and the others quickly left. Roland and the other girls also quickly followed. Soon, they disappeared from Han Shan's sight and continued deeper into the forest. Big brother Han, what should we do now? The remaining boys looked at each other in dismay. They could only look at their only pillar of support, Han Shan. They were a bit at a loss. Ignore those bitches. Let's go. Han Shan gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand up. He had just done some emergency treatment so he could temporarily move. In any case, let's leave this place first and notify the teacher. Since those girls have already decided, I can't be bothered to care how they die. He had a belly full of anger. This time, not only did he fail to mess with Xiaoping, but he was also injured by the thugs. Even his reputation in the school had plummeted. Even those girls who used to worship him were looking down on him. Damn you, Xiaoping. I'm not done with you. Han Shan gritted his teeth. However, no matter how dissatisfied he was, he could only temporarily endure it. Otherwise, if they were chased by those thugs, they would be in trouble. At this time, on top of a mountain peak, the cheetah bandits and the others had solemn expressions. Looking at the communicator that had turned into a busy tone and could no longer receive any sound, the leader Lin Bao's face was gloomy. Since he couldn't contact his subordinates, it was conceivable that they must be in trouble. Boss, there's no sound from Baldy's side. He must have been killed. A man with a knife scar gritted his teeth. Lin Bao clenched his fists. I told him not to cause trouble at this time, but he didn't listen. He actually said that he was going to find a few female students to play and have some fun. In the end, something happened. Although those people are students, they are also martial arts powerhouses. There are also some monsters and geniuses among them. Whoever dares to underestimate them will die. He was extremely angry. Not only was he angry that Baldy dared to disobey his orders, but he was also angry that someone actually dared to kill his subordinates. Boss, we must take revenge for this. The man with the knife scar gritted his teeth. They killed the people of our cheetah bandits. We can't just let them go. They must pay with their blood. Moreover, once these students escape, they will definitely report to their school's teacher. When that happens, they will bring a large group of people and we will be finished. We must kill all these students. Leave no one alive. He exuded a murderous aura. You take a small team and kill them. Lin Bao's teeth revealed a cold, murderous aura. Chapter 89. In the depths of the forest inside a cave. Bang bang bang. Countless lasers shot through the air, bombarding the muddy ground and creating craters. When they hit a rock, it immediately shattered into pieces. In just a breath's time, the place was blown into a mess and yellow smoke billowed. Damn it, those bandits' firepower is too fierce. Jianghu's expression was gloomy. They couldn't get out of the cave. If they dared to go out, they would immediately be hit by the fierce lasers or even shells and blown to bits. Xiaoping, Zhu Erqin, Roland, and a few other girls from Righteous High School were also hiding inside the cave. Originally, they wanted to ambush the bandits, but they didn't expect that the bandits' movements were too fast. They were actually able to discover their whereabouts in an instant, and from a few kilometers away, they were already suppressing them with firepower. Left with no choice, they could only hide inside the cave and temporarily preserve their lives. These bandits not only have laser guns, grenades, and even rocket launchers, Zhu Erqin said in a low voice. The most frightening thing is that they have a sniper. He's almost 100% hit. Everyone nodded. The threat of that sniper was too great. He was shooting at them from 4 or 5 kilometers away, and his accuracy was frighteningly high. If it wasn't for Xiaoping's extremely high sense of danger, being able to predict the direction of the bullets in advance and dodge in time, perhaps 2 or 3 of them would have been killed in an instant. But even so, they could only hide inside the cave, not daring to go outside. The moment they went out, they would immediately be targeted by that terrifying sniper, and their heads would be blown off. But continuing to hide in the cave isn't a solution, Alan said in a low voice. The enemy's firepower is fierce, and they can slowly approach our cave. When the time comes, we just need to send someone up and throw a powerful grenade into the cave. They'll kill us in an instant. Jianghu and the others' expressions were solemn. They knew that the bandits were suppressing them with firepower because they were far away, but once they got close, they would most likely lose their lives. But it was also impossible to fight back because the enemy was using long-range attacks and they were barehanded. Even if they wanted to attack, it was impossible. Xiaoping, what do you think? Jianghu turned to look at Xiaoping. The other girls also looked at Xiaoping. It could be said that Xiaoping was their backbone now. What thoughts? Xiaoping touched his chin. The opponent's sniper, laser guns, grenades, and so on were indeed a great threat. Most importantly, he did not have any long-range attack methods. Thinking of this, his heart moved. System, do you have any good hidden weapon techniques? It can attack enemies from afar? Host. The voice of the system came over. There is a cultivation method called Nailhead 7 Arrows, which is a supreme hidden weapon method. When practiced to the extreme, its power is no less than Dark Northa's body protection skill. It uses a unique wrist strength to throw hidden weapons. It is extremely powerful and can kill people without leaving a trace. Even if it has just started cultivating, it can still kill enemies from several kilometers away. If you reach the Great Accomplishment realm, you will be able to kill your enemies even if they are separated by a world and destroy their souls. The corner of Xiaoping's mouth twitched. This cultivation method did sound powerful, but could he afford it? Indeed, the host can't afford it for the time being. The system was very clear about Xiaoping's financial situation, but you can buy the first level of the cultivation method. 2,000 hatred points, this is definitely worth it. Okay, I'll buy it. Xiaoping made a prompt decision. Such a cultivation method was indeed what he needed now. If he learned this hidden weapon cultivation method, then even if he was a few kilometers away, he would be able to kill the enemy, so he would not be afraid of the guns in the hands of those bandits. Rumble, at this moment, a warm current immediately poured into Xiaoping's mind, and countless chants flowed into his heart. His hands moved like butterflies and countless phantoms appeared in the air. In just a few breaths, he learned the first level of the Nailhead 7 Arrows technique. Amazing. Xiaoping could feel that after learning this cultivation method, the strength of his hands seemed to be twice as strong as before, and his wrist strength was even more tyrannical. Even with a light flick of his finger, he could eject a stone several kilometers away. If he used a unique hidden weapon technique, then the lethality would be absolutely terrifying. Xiaoping, what's wrong? Jianghu felt that Xiaoping's current expression was a little strange, and subconsciously asked. Hearing this, Xiaoping said, Nothing, I just want to tell you one thing, don't worry. Don't worry? All the girls blinked, not understanding why Xiaoping would say such a thing. Jianghu was even more curious. Do you have any good way to deal with those bandits? The method is very simple. I'll go out and kill all these bandits. Xiaoping said lightly. Bullshit. Jianghu's nose was crooked from anger. What kind of bullshit method was this? If it was so easy to kill those bandits, they wouldn't have to hide in the cave like this. They wanted to kill all the bandits, but they would probably be shot in the head by the enemy sniper as soon as they stepped out of the cave. She looked at Xiaoping angrily. You guys hide here, I'll be back soon. Xiaoping didn't explain. With a big slap of his hand, he smashed a rock next to him, grabbed a handful of gravel, put it in his pocket, and strode out of the cave. Xiaoping, are you crazy? Jianghu and the others were all shocked. They wanted to stop him, but it was already too late. Xiaoping was extremely fast, and in an instant he had left the cave. At this time, the bandits were looking at the cave mockingly, pulling the trigger from time to time. Laser beams bombarded the surroundings of the cave, intimidating Xiaoping and the others. Their expressions were very relaxed. The one in the lead was the scar-faced man. After receiving their boss's order, they immediately followed orders and immediately ran into Xiaoping and the others. Hee, that group of students is really pitiful. They just had to run into us, the elites of the cheetah group. They're all high school girls. You guys have to be gentle. If they weren't girls but guys, I would have already used a rocket launcher to kill them. Why would I wait until now? If we can capture these high school girls alive, we'll have a good time tonight. I saw those girls. They're all very high quality, not something those nightingales can compare to. How can they compare? One is pillowed by thousands, while the other is just experiencing the first awakening of love. The taste is completely different. The group of bandits snickered, their eyes shining with an evil light. Shut up. Chapter 90. Brother Scar, I don't think you need to worry. A bandit shouted, those students are all unarmed and we are fully armed. No matter how powerful they are, I'm afraid they will be killed before they come to us. What are you afraid of? That's right, the reason why Baldy and the others died must be because they were careless and approached them. As long as we attack from a distance, no matter how powerful their martial arts are, they can't bite us. Their hands have to be so long. Indeed, we still have sharpshooters here. We can kill the enemy from 5 kilometers away. If there is any danger, we can directly shoot them in the head. We are very safe. A group of bandits shouted, not afraid at all, not taking it seriously at all. In fact, the knife-scarred man said to be cautious, but he didn't put this group of students in his eyes. After all, they were all bandits with the strength of the 8th or even the 9th heavenly layer. They could kill these students with their bare hands. Not to mention that they had grenades, laser guns, and other weapons on them. If they couldn't kill these students with this, they might as well kill themselves with a piece of tofu so as not to waste food. However, he still had to say something. He said in a deep voice, "In short, the boss warned us that we must not be careless this time. We must make sure that those students have no resistance before we can approach. If any of you die because of carelessness, don't blame me." His tone was very harsh. "Brother Scar, don't worry, I'm going to shoot and break their hands and feet one by one, so that even if they are immortals they can't threaten us." A bandit said grimly. "It seems that there is a man in that group of students. His strength seems to be good. He is in the 7th heavenly layer of martial arts. Trash, that man is useless, just kill him directly." "That's right, we only need the women, kill all the men, leave no one alive." Several bandits talked and revealed a murderous aura, wanting to approach the cave. "Be careful, there is a figure coming out of the cave. It seems that he wants to fight desperately." 5 kilometers away, a sniper was staring at the cave with an optical telescope all the time and immediately noticed the situation. So, he told the other bandits the news through the walkie-talkie. "Is that male student?" Some of the bandits also noticed a figure rushing out of the cave. He was as fast as a cheetah, but his face was full of disdain. "Are you trying to struggle before death? Sniper, eliminate him." Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying bullet was shot from 5 kilometers away. The speed was extremely fast, almost reaching the sound barrier. The power of such a bullet could easily tear apart an armored vehicle. If a human body was hit by this bullet, it would explode in an instant and be torn to pieces. "Are they here?" A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. His mental force spread out in all directions, and he immediately sensed the flow of air in the distance. His figure flashed and he immediately dodged the bullet. With a bang, the bullet smashed into the ground, instantly creating a hole with a diameter of 2 to 3 meters. Soil splattered everywhere, and the force of the impact even cracked a nearby rock. One could imagine how terrifying this sniper bullet was. Damn it, he dodged it. The sniper couldn't believe his eyes. He had absolute confidence in his strength. He could casually kill an expert above the 9th layer of the martial disciple realm, and he could blow his head off with one shot. But now, that student actually easily dodged his bullet and made it miss. "Oh no, that guy found us and ran towards us," a bandit shouted. Another hook-nosed bandit said disdainfully, "Run? Is that idiot here to die? We can shoot randomly and turn him into a beehive in an instant. What's there to be afraid of?" At this moment, a stone flew in the air. Its speed was so fast that it actually rubbed against the air in the air, producing sparks. It suddenly came to the side of the hook-nosed bandit. Bang! Immediately, the hook-nosed bandit's head was penetrated by the stone, and his head exploded on the spot like a watermelon. His whole body slowly fell like this, and he didn't even have time to scream. Before he died, he still maintained the posture of pulling the trigger. No, old 15 is dead. He was killed by that bastard. "Damn beast!" shouted a bandit at the side. He was furious to the extreme. His peer had been killed right beside him. But before he could do anything, another stone flew, tearing through the air. It was more terrifying than a sniper bullet. With a bang, it pierced the bandit's throat. The bandit covered his throat that was bleeding profusely. His eyes showed a look of unwillingness and horror. It seemed that he couldn't believe that he was killed like this. He wanted to say something, but his throat was pierced and he was already leaking air. He couldn't say anything. His body fell like this and the yellow soil was dyed red with blood. Damn it, that damn beast. Kill him, shoot him immediately. Sniper, do it. 2 more people were killed by him. That bastard, I must kill him, kill him. The remaining bandits were completely crazy. They were so arrogant before, thinking that they could kill Xiaoping and the others. They even planned to enjoy a few female high school students. The plan was all ready. But who would have thought that before the plan started, 2 of them were killed? Bang, bang, bang. Another 3 stones flew out like black lightning, and like accurate missiles they found the position of 3 bandits in an instant. With a few spluttering sounds they easily pierced their hearts. They could only let out a muffled groan, fell to the ground and died. Sniper, what the fuck are you doing? Didn't you eat today? Why don't you kill him? Shoot. Even the scar-faced man's eyes were bloodshot, and his heart was like a balloon that was about to burst. 5 elites died at once. Even the cheetah regiment couldn't bear such a loss. Brother Scar, it's not working. We can't lock onto his position at all. It's as if he has eyes all over his body. The sniper was also burning with anxiety. It was the first time he had seen such an opponent. He couldn't lock onto his opponent's position at all. Or rather, he thought he had locked onto his opponent, but the moment he fired, the opponent escaped again. It was as if the opponent could predict the future. This was simply the nemesis of snipers like them. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Another 3 stones flew out. They zigzagged in the air, penetrated the trees, and exploded the heads of 3 bandits. Their heads exploded like watermelons on the spot. Even if they hid under a tree, under a rock, or even crawled on the ground, they would still die. Chapter 91. Damn it! Damn it! The knife-scarred man was enraged to the extreme. In just a few breaths of time, 8 of their team members had been killed by that student, and their team only had 11 or 12 people. Apart from the sniper, there were still 3 people left alive. Now he finally knew why the bald man died. It was not because of carelessness, nor was it because of a sneak attack, but because there was a monster among this group of students. Brother Knife Scar, let's retreat. If this goes on, we will definitely be wiped out. The sniper also felt a strong sense of uneasiness. He felt that he seemed to be targeted. Even if they were separated by 4 or 5 kilometers, he didn't know why he didn't feel any sense of security. Damn it! The knife-scarred man gritted his teeth, but how could he be willing to retreat like this? He had a small team of 12 people, all of whom were elites, powerhouses above the 8th heavenly layer, fully armed with laser guns and grenades. But now, 8 of them were killed by a student and forced to flee for their lives. How could he be willing? Bang bang. But with such a delay, 2 stones shot out again, one penetrating a rock half the height of a person, and suddenly a bandit's heart burst and the whole body was pierced. A bandit tried to escape through the air, but he was also hit on the head by the stone, smashing it into pieces on the spot. A headless body fell heavily, blood flowing. Run! The knife-scarred man was so scared that he peed his pants. He was no longer unwilling. Now was not the time to think about face. It was the time to see if he could escape from this demon. Right now, only he and the sniper were still alive. But the sniper was on a mountain 5 kilometers away. In fact, he was the only one left alive here. He couldn't believe that a little student, a guy at the 7th heaven of martial arts, could wipe out his entire team with his bare hands. It was a terrible mess. At this moment, another stone flew, tearing through the air, producing a fierce sound of breaking through the air, and suddenly made the scarred man feel extreme danger. Bastard! The scarred man's hair stood up, but he was also a powerhouse at the 9th heaven of martial arts. He didn't know how many times he had gone through life and death, and his instinct for life and death crisis had long been tempered. With a loud bang, he turned his hand over and punched the rock into smithereens. He actually dodged this move? Xia Ping raised his eyebrows. He had used the head-piercing 7 arrows art to shoot rocks and kill so many enemies. It was simply successful in every endeavor. Although his strength had weakened a little, he didn't expect that the scarred man would be able to block it. However, it was only one move. Next time this guy's luck might not be so good. Boom! At this moment, the sniper on the hilltop began to move. Another bullet came from afar. It was incomparably fast, like a poisonous snake, aiming at Xia Ping. In fact, it wasn't just one bullet, but 3 at the same time, separated into 3 different positions, as if trying to seal off Xia Ping's escape routes. As long as one hit, Xia Ping's body would definitely be torn apart. Well done. The scarred man was immediately overjoyed. Just now, he had felt a suffocating sense of death. Blocking that move just now had only been a matter of luck. It had already consumed all of his energy. If the monster continued to attack him, he would definitely die. Fortunately, there was a sniper covering him. What a vengeful spirit. Xia Ping's eyes flashed. If he didn't kill the sniper, he was afraid that he would still be a hindrance. Moreover, this kind of person was the most annoying. Just because he was far away, he thought that others couldn't kill him and was unscrupulous. Xiu xiu xiu. In an instant, he also threw 3 rocks at the same time, leaving a strange trajectory in the air. It was incomparably fast and just happened to arrive in front of the 3 bullets. With a few bangs, the collision between the bullets and the rocks immediately caused a huge explosion. What? The sniper's eyes turned green. In fact, he was very confident in his attack. Even if this shot couldn't kill him, it would be able to blow off this kid's arm. However, who would have thought that this kid was so terrifying? Randomly throwing 3 rocks could collide with the 3 bullets shot by him. It was simply miraculous. Impossible, this kind of skill can't be done so easily. Luck, this is definitely luck. Next time his luck won't be so good. I'll definitely shoot him dead. The sniper gritted his teeth. He felt extremely unwilling, but in the next second, his eyes widened. No way, what does this kid want to do? The man with a scar in the distance was also a little stunned because he saw Xia Ping actually grabbed a watermelon-sized rock on the ground and stood there. However, it was not aimed at him, but at the sniper on the mountain peak 5 kilometers away. No way, is this kid crazy? Does he want to kill the sniper from 5 kilometers away? The man with a scar couldn't believe the idea that emerged from the depths of his heart. To be honest, even the strong in the martial warrior realm might not be able to do this, let alone a little guy in the 7th heaven of the martial disciple realm. This was a dream. First style of 7 arrows, piercing heart and bone. Xia Ping grabbed the stone. His right hand seemed to turn into a steel claw, deeply inserted into the stone. He scratched out 5 marks and penetrated into the stone. He separated his feet, bent his body slightly, and stretched his spine like a giant dragon. The muscles of his whole body were tense, and the strength of every bone was transmitted. This tyrannical strength continued to extend from the soles of his feet, spine, arms, and finally to the 5 fingers, producing an extremely terrifying power. The whole person was like a god from the ancient times. Boom, with such a smash, the watermelon-sized stone flew out, madly rubbing against the air. Because the speed was too fast, it actually produced a fierce flame, began to burn, and turned into a fireball. As the stone flew fast, the flame burned and pieces of stone fell from the air. The size of the stone slowly shrank from the size of a watermelon to the size of half a watermelon, and then to the size of an apple. In the end, it was only the size of a glass bead. No, no, no. Originally, the sniper was still laughing at Xia Ping, thinking that he was venting his anger. However, when he looked through the telescope, the stone actually crossed a distance of 5 kilometers in a breath. In the next second, the glass bead-sized stone came in front of him. Immediately, his mind went blank. There was no time to react, and there was no way to react. Bang! The stone pierced the sniper's head in an instant, and the huge impact sent the sniper's body flying. Finally, he was thrown into the air, flying more than 10 meters before falling to the ground. Chapter 92. This. Knife Scar, who clearly saw this scene, immediately pissed his pants. Just what kind of monster was this student? From a distance of 5 kilometers, he actually killed the sniper in an instant. Was he still human? Just how stupid were they to provoke such a monster? Weren't they just looking to die? But it was already too late, far too late. When most of their people were dead, only then did he realize the horror of this matter. What use was this? I have to escape. I have to tell the boss about this immediately. Knife Scar turned around and fled. He was simply risking his life, wishing that his parents could give him more legs. But before he could even take a few steps, Xia Ping's figure appeared in front of him. No, no, no. Knife Scar cried out in fear, it's our fault. We really were wrong. We shouldn't have provoked you guys. Spare me this time. I won't dare next time. I really won't dare again. Xia Ping stepped forward and threw a punch. Tiger fist. Fierce tiger unleashes the cage. Bang. In an instant, Knife Scar's chest was hit. His entire heart was smashed into pieces. Even his body was sent flying, smashing through 5 or 6 trees in a row. When he fell to the ground, he was dead. Knife Scar's eyes were wide open. Before he died, he revealed an expression of unwillingness, regret, and fear. If he could turn back time, he wouldn't have led a team to wipe out the students even if he was beaten to death. Spare you? Xia Ping indifferently looked at Knife Scar's corpse, his eyes emotionless. What a joke. Sparing you is up to the King of Hell. My mission is to send you to the King of Hell. For these bandits who wanted his life, the only way was to kill. Seeing that these bandits were all dead, Xia Ping took away their laser guns, hand grenades, bulletproof vests, and other weapons. It would be a waste if he didn't take these things. Moreover, he would probably have to face the counterattack of the entire cheetah group. Arming Jianghu and the others was also very beneficial. At least he wouldn't have to divert his attention to protect them. After doing this, he walked towards the cave. At this time, on a mountain peak in the center of Beast Island, the leader of the cheetah squad, Lin Bao, had an extremely gloomy expression on his face. His heart was filled with anxiety and anger. He had tried to contact the scarred man, but there had been no reply. After all, this was the scarred man. Not a single one of the 12 people that had been sent out had returned. Even though they were unwilling to admit it, these people had definitely been wiped out. Damn it. With a snap, Lin Bao crushed the communication device in his hand. He was enraged to the extreme. Who is it? Who killed the people of my cheetah group? Does he want to die? With the death of a 12-man elite squad, in addition to the death of the bald man and his men, the entire cheetah squad was now more than half dead. It could be said that this kind of loss was too heavy. It was simply a serious injury. In particular, the sniper's death was unimaginably tragic. After all, there weren't many sharpshooters with such talent in the world. He had spent a lot of effort to invite him to join. But now he was dead. Boss, the scarlet blood fruit is about to ripen, a subordinate reported. At this time, on the big tree in the middle, there were a few fruits that seemed to be emitting a bright red glow. They emitted a strange fragrance that seemed to fill the entire valley, causing the cells in one's body to groan. And this fragrance attracted the attention of countless beasts in the surroundings. All of them were incomparably crazy and restless, as if they wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to charge forward. However, they still endured it because the fruit had not ripened yet. Damn it. Lin Bao clenched his teeth. His expression was unsettled. No matter who you are, you must die for killing the people of my cheetah group. As long as you stay on Beast Island, there is no way you can live. Just you wait. Once I get my hands on the scarlet blood fruit, I will immediately take your life. His body emitted a terrifying murderous aura. It was obvious that this peerless villain was enraged. Even when he was betrayed by his brothers, he had never been this angry. However, Lin Bao was also a person with a deep mind. He had the disposition of an ambitious and ruthless person. Very quickly, he calmed down from his endless anger. He said to his subordinate, "Is the plan ready?" "Boss, it's ready." The subordinate smiled sinisterly. "We've already set up a large number of bombs in the vicinity. Once the scarlet blood fruit ripens, we will immediately blow up all these beasts and raze this place to the ground. At that time, not only will we obtain the scarlet blood fruit, we will also obtain the corpses of these beasts. This is also a huge harvest. This time we're going to be rich." He was very pleased with himself. Lin Bao nodded. "Good. Continue to wait. Don't let anything happen in the surroundings." "Yes, boss." The group of subordinates replied loudly. At this time, Xiaoping had already returned to the cave. Xiaoping. Seeing a familiar figure walking in from outside the cave, Jianghu immediately cried out in surprise. But very quickly she discovered that the things in Xiaoping's hands were shockingly laser guns, hand grenades and other weapons. "These things, where did you get them from?" Jianghu was dumbfounded. She didn't remember Xiaoping being an arms dealer. Just where did he get these weapons from? Xiaoping said lightly, "I got it from those bandits." "How is that possible?" Jianghu was stunned. Those bandits weren't idiots. How could they obediently hand over these weapons? But she quickly thought of a possibility. Her expression immediately changed. "Don't tell me you killed those bandits?" "That's right." Not a single one was left alive. Xiaoping nodded. "What?" Hearing this, not only Jianghu but even Zhu Erqin, Roland and the other girls were all dumbfounded. There were more than a dozen heavily armed bandits outside, and one of them was even a sniper. They were incomparably terrifying. Such tyrannical figures were actually all killed by this man. Although they also knew that Xiaoping went out of the cave to deal with the group of bandits, they never thought that Xiaoping would really succeed in this matter. "Impossible. You're not joking, are you?" Jianghu didn't dare to believe it. To kill these heavily armed bandits, one had to be at least in the martial warrior realm. Xiaoping faintly smiled. "Is it real or not? Just go outside and take a look. The corpses are all outside." He pointed outside the cave, his attitude very casual. Jianghu and the others were skeptical. But there really was no gunfire outside. It was so quiet that it was a little frightening. It was as if it was the eve of a storm. Chapter 93. No, it can't be, they're all dead? Jianghu and the others carefully went out of the cave and immediately saw the corpses lying on the ground. They were inexplicably shocked. Those incomparably ferocious gangsters were now lying on the ground without any breath. Is almost equal to obviously they were already dead and couldn't be more dead. What about the sniper 5 kilometers away? Zhu Erqin couldn't help but ask. Xiaoping said lightly, "Don't worry, he's also dead." "What? All the girls were shocked. This news was even more shocking than the fact that all these gangsters were dead. After all, it wasn't that easy to kill a sniper. 5 kilometers was enough for a sniper to kill any enemy. But now that the sniper was dead, there was no doubt that it was also killed by this man. How did he do it? Jianghu and the others were extremely curious. It must be known that these gangsters not only had many weapons on them, but they were also martial artists themselves, at least above the 8th layer of martial disciple. For such a character, even if they were barehanded, they might not be able to defeat him, let alone kill him. It's very simple because I'm very strong. Xiaoping smiled slightly. Boast. Just keep boasting. Jianghu looked at this guy blowing his own trumpet. No matter how strong he was only at the 7th layer of martial disciple. How could he kill these enemies with his bare hands? In order to kill those gangsters without any losses, this guy must have used some means that they didn't know. Xiaoping, you're really amazing. A tall girl from Jianghu Middle School looked at Xiaoping with a face full of admiration. We're all students, why are you so amazing? How do you cultivate? Can you teach me? No matter what means Xiaoping used to kill those gangsters, the fact that he killed them could not be changed. Moreover, saving them was enough to prove Xiaoping's strength. Even the #1 expert of Jianghu Middle School, Han Shan, was not this man's opponent. It's not a problem to teach you, but cultivation is a very secretive thing. I think we may need to find another time and a secret place to discuss it in detail. Xiaoping showed a face of righteousness, indicating that teaching people was not a problem at all. He was a good teacher, especially when it came to girls' requests, he rarely refused. Bullshit. Jianghu was half angered to death. Why did they have to find another time and a more secluded place to ask for advice on cultivation? Couldn't they just ask here? This bastard clearly harbored evil intentions. However, the tall girl's eyes immediately lit up. She giggled and said, "That's great. Why don't we set the time at the end of this trial? The location will be my house. That place is very secluded and I guarantee that we won't be disturbed. Also, my parents are on a business trip. They're not at home." Her tone was bold and hot. Your parents aren't home? Xiaoping touched his chin and his eyes suddenly lit up. That's good, that's good. It's best if my parents aren't home. Shameless. Jianghu was so angry that his nose was crooked. These two adulterers had actually started to flirt with each other, acting as if there was no one else around. They had even gone to their own home and even his parents weren't home. It was obvious what they were planning. Brother Xia, don't listen to that saw. What's so fun about going to her house? Why don't we go to my house? A voluptuous girl stepped forward. Her beautiful eyes were filled with boldness. My bedroom just so happens to have a large bed that can accommodate 3 to 5 people. It's very big and soft, very suitable for cultivation. Go die. Don't listen to them. These women all have evil intentions. They definitely want to harm you, Brother Xia. I'm much more serious. I just want to ask you some questions on cultivation. It's just that it might take a long time. We might need to talk for an entire night. What kind of questions do you need to ask for an entire night? Normally, I've never seen you study so hard. Don't you always like to put on makeup and go shopping? Can't I work hard now? A few female students from Righteous Virtue Middle School chattered. As women of the upper class, they were very bold in expressing their feelings. They were completely different from ordinary girls who were bashful and shy. Cultivation my ass. Hearing these words, Jianghu's face turned green. Why did they have to talk about their own bed when they wanted to cultivate? It was so big and soft. What kind of cultivation was done on a bed? These bastards were simply shameless. They wanted to talk for an entire night? They were a man and a woman alone in the same room. As they talked, they'd go to bed. Why the hell were they still cultivating here? That wasn't the way to catch a man. Furthermore, as women, they should be a bit more reserved. How could they all be so shameless? Cough cough. Xiaoping coughed. I'm a very righteous person. Don't worry. When the time comes, I'll teach you well. You'll all benefit greatly. Hee, when the time comes, we'll learn from each other. After all, we don't have much experience in this kind of thing. The group of girls giggled and surrounded Xiaoping. Xiaoping, get over here. Jianghu couldn't take it anymore. If this continued, this man would probably start messing around with those girls even before the trial ended. How could this kind of thing happen? They were all just high school students. How could they do such a shameless thing like this? As a rumored girlfriend, a fake girlfriend, she definitely wouldn't allow this kind of thing to happen. She immediately pulled Xiaoping away to get rid of those shameless girls. Seeing this, the girls from Righteous Virtue Middle School all giggled. They seemed very happy. They also knew about the rumored relationship between Xia Ping and Jianghu, but they didn't care. To them, stealing an outstanding man was the only meaningful thing. And didn't having a beautiful girlfriend mean that the other party was outstanding? There was no better prey than this. Look, there's someone coming over there. Suddenly Zhu Erqin shouted. She noticed that in the distance, there seemed to be 5 or 6 figures appearing, running towards them in a panic. And behind these figures, there seemed to be 2 criminals chasing after them. They were armed with guns and from time to time, explosions could be heard. It's Chu Rong. Jiang Yaru's eyes were very sharp. He immediately recognized these figures. One of them was shockingly Chu Rong. Crap, they seemed to be also being chased by those criminals. The others' expressions changed. Clearly, they also thought that perhaps they weren't the only ones being chased by those criminals. Even the people from other schools might fall into the same predicament. But those students might not be as strong as Xia Ping. It was very likely that some of them would die at the hands of these criminals, or be captured alive, falling into a desperate situation. I'll go save them. Chapter 94. In the forest, a few girls were nimble and agile. They were running around the surrounding trees, dodging the attacks of the criminals. Their faces were filled with panic and some of them were even injured. Damn it. Chu Rong clenched her teeth. She was carrying an injured girl on her back. Just now, the girl had been accidentally hit by a laser, injuring her left leg. Blood flowed out and she basically couldn't move anymore. If she abandoned this girl, she could obviously escape from these criminals and escape without a trace. But with her personality, how could she do something like watch someone die? Didn't they say this was an uninhabited island with only wild beasts? Just where did these criminals come from? Chu Rong was very unwilling. She couldn't understand why this had happened. That was because just as she was leading a few of her companions out to hunt wild beasts, single-mindedly focused on defeating Jianghu, 3 or 4 armed bandits suddenly rushed out. They were extremely vicious and merciless. They killed 2 male students in one go, shocking everyone. Although she also used her tyrannical martial arts to kill one of them, she was outnumbered. Moreover, the enemies had weapons so she could only run into the depths of the forest. Xiaorong, we can't go on anymore. We've been running for half a day already. We're out of energy. A girl beside her was pale. Her forehead was covered in sweat and she was panting. Clearly she was exhausted. The other companions were the same. After all, they didn't have Chu Rong's stamina to run for a day and a night without a problem. This was a talent. Don't relax. Chu Rong roared. Can't you see that those criminals are right behind us? Once we're caught, can you imagine what will happen to us? Grit your teeth and endure to the end. She reprimanded her companions. But we're really out of energy. The girl clenched her teeth. They also wanted to endure, but sometimes willpower and physical strength weren't on the same level. Being chased like this, their nerves were stretched taut. They almost couldn't bear it anymore. After all, they were just students a day ago. When had they ever encountered such a desperate pursuit? Suddenly, a girl accidentally tripped over a rock and fell to the ground on the spot. Her face was bruised and swollen, and even her knees were bleeding. Xiaolan. Everyone cried out in alarm. They didn't think that in such a fast escape, there would be someone left behind. This was big trouble. Don't worry about me, just run on your own. The girl gritted her teeth. She did not want to implicate her companions. At this time, the 2 or 3 criminals behind also rushed up. When they saw someone lying on the ground, their eyes immediately lit up. Haha, the little girl finally can't run away. One of the thugs smiled sinisterly. We've been chasing you for so long. You guys are really good at running. I'll let you guys have a taste of what it's like to be a man. His tone was sinister and vicious, making people shudder. When the girls heard this, their faces immediately turned pale. "End the battle, don't waste time." Another gangster said in a low voice, "I heard the news that Brother Scar's team was completely annihilated. There's someone ruthless in this group of students. Boss told us to be careful." What's there to be afraid of? That Dao Ba must have been careless and fell into the trap of that group of students. That's why he ended up like this. As long as we are careful, how could this group of defenseless students be our match? The remaining gangster said disdainfully, but there's indeed someone ruthless in this group of girls. In a moment of carelessness, he actually killed one of our brothers. Later, I'll definitely teach this tigress a lesson and let her know how powerful men are. He stared at Chu Rong ferociously. Looking at her hot body, even his breathing became rapid. Damn it, let's fight it out with these guys. Chu Rong clenched her fists. She could not imagine what would happen to Xiaolan if she fell into the hands of this group of criminals. The other girls' faces were pale and their legs were trembling in fear. Although Chu Rong's words were ruthless, in reality with their strength, they were not a match at all. If they could match them, there was no need to escape. They could just kill them. Fight it out with us? With your lousy martial arts, do you think you can dodge our guns? A gangster laughed cruelly, not caring about Chu Rong's words at all. Swoosh. At this moment, there was a piercing sound that tore through the air. The gangster who spoke had his head pierced by a stone. With a bang, his head was smashed into pieces like a watermelon. Who is it? The remaining two gangsters were stunned. They did not know what had happened at all. They watched helplessly as one of their companions was killed and his head exploded. Whoosh whoosh. Another two stones shot out like black lightning. It was impossible to see their trajectory. With two poochie sounds, they pierced through the throats of the two gangsters. Blood burst out like a fountain. Ugh ugh, the two gangsters subconsciously covered their throats. Their eyes were filled with fear and unwillingness. They seemed to want to say something, but their necks were leaking air, so they could not say anything. With a bang, the two of them fell to the ground. They were already dead. This. Chu Rong and the others were also stunned by this situation. The three fierce gangsters were killed in an instant without any ability to resist. Whoosh. At this moment, a figure appeared in front of the group of girls. Xia Ping. After seeing the figure clearly, Chu Rong could not help but cry out. She was very surprised because she could recognize Xia Ping even if he turned into ashes. The other girls also recognized Xia Ping's identity. After all, this was a famous person who caused trouble everywhere. How could they not know him? Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this time, Jianghu and the others also followed Xia Ping's footsteps and quickly arrived at the empty space. Jianghu? Chu Rong also saw Jianghu and the others. Immediately, the group of girls let out a sigh of relief. At this time, they felt a lot safer to meet one of their own. At least if they encountered those gangsters, they would have the ability to resist. Chu Rong, it's good that you guys are fine. Jianghu looked at the three gangsters' corpses on the ground. She did not care at all. After experiencing these things, she had long since adapted. Humans were creatures with extremely high adaptability. Could it be that you guys saved me? Chu Rong immediately thought of this possibility. Jianghu waved her hand. It wasn't us who saved you. It was this guy who saved you. She pointed at Xia Ping. This guy. Chu Rong bit her lips. Her heart was very complicated. This bastard seemed to be her husband in name and had even made a contract with her. She originally wanted to forget about this matter, but this guy appeared again and even saved her. Chapter 95. In a hidden cave somewhere. At this time, Xia Ping and the others left the crime scene and conveniently took away the guns, grenades and other weapons from the criminals. After traveling for about 10 kilometers, they finally found a hidden cave. Thus, they temporarily rested in this place. After all, a few of them were injured and couldn't travel long distances for the time being. You said that you guys encountered a group of criminals, and they even killed a few students from 88 Middle School. There were even students from other middle schools who were captured by them? Jianghu stared at Chu Rong and listened to her describe what happened. The other party's experience was even worse than theirs. Not only were some people injured, some were captured and some even died. The girls from Righteous Middle School also sighed. Fortunately, they left with Xia Ping and the others. Otherwise, if they encountered these criminals, their fates wouldn't be much better than theirs. Yes. Chu Rong clenched her teeth. Those criminals simply kill without batting an eye. As soon as they encountered us, they immediately opened fire. They showed no mercy. We had to use all our strength to escape. But even so, a few of us were killed and most of us were captured. Only a few of us managed to escape. The faces of the girls from 88 Middle School were gloomy. Thinking back to what happened before, it was simply a nightmare. Not even in their dreams did they expect to encounter such danger. Fortunately, they encountered Xia Ping and the others. Otherwise, they would definitely have been captured by those criminals. We wanted to inform the teachers, but we found out that the information on our watches couldn't be sent out. They used a jammer to interfere with the signal within a radius of several hundred kilometers. Chu Rong clenched her fists. Because the information couldn't be sent out, they were simply like turtles in a jar. Moreover, they were unarmed and had no way of fighting against those criminals. If we want to deal with those criminals, there are only two ways. Jianghu said in a low voice. The first is to quickly escape. As long as we leave the range of the jammer, We can inform the teachers and have them send people over to eliminate those criminals. That's impossible. A bespectacled girl from Righteous Middle School said in a low voice, I know how these jammers operate. Even the smallest one has a range of several hundred kilometers, let alone a larger one. The other party is the Cheetah Group, a criminal organization that has been famous for a long time. Who knows how many hunts and hunts they have dealt with? How could they use cheap goods? In other words, the range of the opponent's jammer has already covered the entire Beast Island. No matter where we escape to, we won't be able to escape from the opponent's signal interference. In fact, it was precisely because of this reason that she chose to leave with Xia Ping and the others, because she knew that Han Shan and the others would definitely fail. It was impossible for them to leave the range of the signal interference. Then there's only one way left. Jianghu clenched his fists. That's to go to the place where the Cheetah Regiment is gathered and destroy the jammer. Once the jammer is destroyed, our signal will immediately return to normal. At that time we can also inform teacher to come over. She suggested the second method. Everyone was silent. This was indeed a good idea, but it was also a stupid one. After all, the other party was a powerful criminal organization with many people and weapons. If they went to the enemy's headquarters, it would be no different from sending sheep into a tiger's mouth. It was simply courting death. Don't tell me that the teachers won't notice our abnormalities? Once the signal is jammed, there should be some abnormalities, a girl said. The bespectacled girl shook her head. You're underestimating the other party. Do you think they haven't thought of this? After all, they're a criminal organization. They have technical talents in this area. They didn't just turn on the signal jammer, they even turned on the signal simulator. In other words, if the teachers don't deliberately investigate, they won't notice at all. From the start of the incident until now, the teachers haven't reacted at all. It's obvious that the teachers haven't felt anything strange at all, nor have they discovered what happened on the island. The entire cavern was filled with an oppressive atmosphere. No one knew what to do. These words had completely shattered their confidence. In 3 days the teachers will come back in the spaceship again. Chu Rong clenched her fists. When that time comes, those criminals will naturally flee at the sight of us, but can those students who have been captured last for 3 days? To be honest, with those vicious criminals' methods, let alone 3 days, it would be lucky if they could even last a day. Leave this matter to me. Xia Ping suddenly said. What? Everyone was shocked. They couldn't help but turn to look at Xia Ping. Leave it to you? Chu Rong said in shock. Xia Ping nodded. Yes, I'll go to the headquarters alone and destroy the jammer. Have you gone crazy? Chu Rong felt that Xia Ping had gone crazy. There are dozens of them and they're all armed. I'm afraid that before you can even get close, you'll be shot into a beehive. Although Xia Ping had just killed 2 or 3 gangsters and showed his extremely powerful skills, dealing with 3 gangsters and dealing with a group of gangsters was a different concept. I'm not going to court death. Xia Ping smiled. I'm just going to give it a try. If it's impossible, of course I won't throw my life away. But if it's easy to destroy, I won't hesitate either. He wasn't the kind of person who would sacrifice himself for others. If things didn't work out, he would naturally run away. Moreover, he also felt that it was strange. Why would these criminals suddenly appear on this desolate and uninhabited island? There must be some unspeakable secret here. He wanted to go and investigate. Perhaps he could gain some benefits from it. Of course, he wouldn't tell anyone about these thoughts. If these women followed him, things would become very troublesome. He might as well act alone. But do you know where the scoundrels are? Beast Island is so big. It won't be easy to find the enemy's lair. Jianghu also knew that this guy was greedy for life and afraid of death. He was definitely not a hero. If he didn't have the confidence, he definitely wouldn't make a move. Moreover, based on the terrifying strength he had displayed before, even if he couldn't destroy the jammer, he should be able to survive in the hands of so many criminals. This shouldn't be a problem. Finding their whereabouts is a piece of cake. Xia Ping indicated that this wasn't a problem at all. The 10,000-mile tracking technique he had learned was a supreme secret technique for tracking enemies. Finding the enemy's lair was a piece of cake. In short, take these weapons with you. If any criminals come, you can shoot them down. There shouldn't be any problems in terms of safety for now. Xia Ping pointed at the weapons he had obtained from the criminals. With that, he turned around and left. Sigh. Chapter 96. In the center of Beast Island, on the top of a mountain peak. At this time, most of the members of the Cheetah Regiment gathered together, densely packed, at least 20 people, each with a gun on their body, exuding a terrible evil spirit. In this place there were 20 or 30 students who were also captured. Their hands and feet were tied up, unable to move, and they were very embarrassed. Some of them were beaten black and blue, with blood flowing out of their faces. Among them were Han Shan and others from Jianghu High School. They originally wanted to leave the range of the jammer, but they didn't expect to be caught by those gangsters when they walked half the distance. As a result, they were tied up and brought to this place, and they were even tortured on the way. Not to mention how miserable these people were. They were all from wealthy families and they had never encountered such treatment. It's over, we're completely finished. I wanted to escape, but I didn't expect to fall into the hands of these gangsters. If I had known earlier, I would have followed Xiaoping and the others. Otherwise, how could such a thing happen? A group of students regretted that their intestines were green. They originally wanted to escape from the clutches of those gangsters, but they found that it was impossible at all. The entire island is now the territory of this cheetah regiment. How can they escape? But by the time they understood this matter, it was already too late. Damn it. Han Shan's face was also ashen, and his heart regretted it to the extreme. He was the #1 master of Jianghu High School, a powerhouse of the 8th heavenly layer, but he was beaten like a dead dog by these gangsters. How tragic. If this continues, I'm afraid he will really die in the hands of these gangsters. Those vicious people don't care about his little Han Shan's life. He was also very regretful in his heart. If he could follow Xiaoping, maybe he wouldn't encounter this kind of thing, but now it's too late to say anything. He can only pray that someone will come to save him. Didn't you find the murderer who killed Dao Ba and the others? Lin Bao stared at these students, full of murderous intent. It was because of some of these students that their cheetah regiment suffered heavy losses this time, and many people died. I didn't find it. A man said in a deep voice, but after our torture we found a person who is very likely to be the murderer, seems to be called Xiaoping. According to their confessions, so many of our brothers died because of this Xiaoping. His teeth revealed a deep murderous intent. Xiaoping. Lin Bao gritted his teeth, as if he wanted to carve this name deeply into his mind. It was this student who had caused the deaths of so many members of his cheetah group. It was hard for him not to remember him. Can't find the kid's whereabouts? He stared at his subordinate. The subordinate shook his head. I've interrogated these students a few times, but none of them know where Xiaoping is. It seems that he has already parted ways with them. However, some people said that Xiaoping did not escape but planned to hunt us. Hearing this, Lin Bao clenched his fists and was instantly enraged. How dare you? A student who's not even worth a fart dares to boast so shamelessly? You want to hunt us? He's the hunter and we're the prey. He was infuriated to the extreme. He had never seen such an arrogant and egotistical student. Not only was he not afraid of these violent and cruel bandits, but he even planned to kill them? One had to know that even the elite police officers were trembling in fear when they found out that the cheetah squad had arrived. How dare a mere student be so arrogant? Boss, we've arranged quite a few people in the vicinity. The subordinate sneered. As long as that kid dares to appear, we'll immediately take action and end his life to avenge our brothers. His body emitted a terrifying murderous aura, and it was obvious that he was truly enraged. To actually be hunted down by a mere student, their cheetah squad could be considered to have been thoroughly looked down upon. Immediately inform me when you find the kid's whereabouts. I want to personally take his head. Lin Bao coldly snorted. He had never wanted to kill a person so much, and this Xiaoping was the first. Yes, boss. The subordinate immediately shouted. At this moment, a man walked up and said, Boss, everything is ready. The scarlet blood fruit will ripen in half an hour. We can make our move then. Half an hour? Hearing this, Lin Bao clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes revealed a fiery glow. He had waited for a few days, and finally, the day when the scarlet blood fruit ripened had arrived. If he could obtain this scarlet blood fruit, advancing to the martial warrior realm would be within his reach. At that time, no matter how big the world was, he could go anywhere. Very well, we'll head over immediately. Thinking of this, Lin Bao said in a low voice, We must ensure that there are no mistakes. We must obtain that scarlet blood fruit. If anyone dares to make a mistake, I'll take his life. Many of his subordinates shivered, not daring to be careless. They immediately replied, Yes. Let's go. Lin Bao waved his hand and immediately went up to the top of the mountain. He stared at the huge tree in the valley ahead. There were 3 bright red fruits growing on it, and a strange fragrance filled the entire valley. It was the scarlet blood fruit. Instantly, not only Lin Bao but the other members of the cheetah squad also revealed looks of greed. At this moment, on a nameless small mountain 2 to 3 kilometers away, a figure quietly appeared at the top of this small mountain. However, no one from the cheetah squad noticed this person. This person was Xia Ping. He followed the aura of these bandits and finally arrived at the center of the Beast Island. He arrived at the place where the cheetah squad and the others were gathered, and also discovered this strange valley. It can't be, this is the scarlet blood fruit? Seeing the 3 strange red fruits growing on the top of the towering tree, Xia Ping immediately knew that these fruits were the legendary scarlet blood fruit. Because there were all kinds of rare treasures between heaven and earth, in fact they were learned in high school natural geography. It introduced all kinds of unique fruits that grew on Yanhuang Star, which were of great benefit to martial artists. However, these heaven and earth exotic fruits were only heard of and not seen. They were expensive and most people could only look at them without any chance to obtain them. Oh, there are actually 3 scarlet blood fruits here. No wonder this group of people from the cheetah squad would appear on the Beast Island. So it turned out to be for this heaven and earth exotic fruit? Xia Ping finally understood why this group of bandits would appear on this desolate and uninhabited island for no reason. It turned out to be for this extremely precious heaven and earth exotic fruit. He knew that this scarlet blood fruit was said to be watered with the blood of countless beasts, accumulating for 100 years before it could grow. Its value was amazing and one was worth 50 million federal coins. If it was taken to an auction, it was extremely normal for each to be sold for 100 million federal coins. 3 of these scarlet blood fruits were equivalent to 300 million federal coins. The value was amazing. Ordinary people would kill for 1 million federal coins. If it was for 300 million, then there would probably be people who would slaughter a village. Xia Ping clenched his fists, and his eyes revealed a glimmer of light. Chapter 97. Boom! As the scarlet blood fruit was about to ripen, an overwhelming number of ferocious beasts surged out from the surroundings of the valley. One after another, ferocious beasts with terrifying strength appeared in the surroundings of the valley. There were forest wolves, ferocious tigers, cheetahs, black bears, and so on. There were many of them, and every single one of them was extremely powerful. Their bodies emitted a violent aura that caused people to tremble. There were even ferocious birds flying in the sky, circling in the air from time to time. Such a number simply covered the sky, forming a large patch of dark clouds. These ferocious beasts were all staring at the 3 scarlet blood fruits on the big tree in the valley. They could not suppress the desire in their hearts. To them, these 3 scarlet blood fruits were also an opportunity for evolution. Once they ate one of the scarlet blood fruits, they would definitely become even more powerful. Beast tied, this is a beast tied. Although Han Shan and the others were tied up on the mountain peak, they could still see the ferocious beasts that covered the entire valley. All of their hearts trembled and they felt fear. They had once read about the beast tide that appeared hundreds of years ago in history books. Those tyrannical beasts were innumerable. They covered the sky and covered the earth, destroying human cities one after another. Although the ferocious beast here could not compare to the glorious battles in history books, just based on the aura alone, it was probably not much different from the scenes in history books. If they were not tied up by the bandits, they would have long fled in fright. How would they still dare to stay in this place? There's still a little more time, they're about to ripen. The forest leopard stared fixedly at the big tree in the valley. It was not the slightest bit shaken by the huge number of ferocious beasts around it, as if it was not a big deal at all. Rumble, right at this moment, the 3 scarlet blood fruits burst out with a scorching light, as if they were small suns. Strange patterns appeared on the surface, and a rich fragrance spread throughout the entire valley. When the creatures present smelled this fragrance, their spirits were greatly lifted. It was as if every single cell in their body was greedily absorbing it, as if just a trace of the fragrance would allow their cultivation to improve. Everyone was shocked. Just the fragrance alone was already so terrifying. If they were to eat the entire scarlet blood fruit, it would be amazing. No wonder it was worth 50 million federal coins. A heaven and earth exotic fruit like this was equivalent to a luxurious villa. Roar! Many ferocious beasts roared. When the light from the 3 scarlet blood fruits reached its peak and the fragrance reached its peak, even the air was filled with mist, covering the surroundings. Those ferocious beasts could no longer be controlled. Because the scarlet blood fruit had ripened. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The ferocious beasts madly charged forward, wantonly trampling the surrounding ferocious beasts. They fought and killed each other without a care for anything else. Like a tide, they wanted to snatch away the 3 scarlet blood fruits. Do it. Lin Bao gave the order. They had been preparing for a long time and had set up a large number of bombs around the valley a few days in advance. Once they were activated, the power would be earth-shattering. One of the henchmen smiled sinisterly, took out a red remote control on his body and pressed it hard. Boom, all of a sudden terrifying explosions rang out from all around the valley. The mountains shook and the earth shook as if there was a magnitude 7 or 8 earthquake. Even the mountain peaks were on the verge of collapsing. A huge black mushroom cloud floated into the sky, and a terrifying explosion swept out in all directions. Those ferocious beasts that tried to rush over to snatch the scarlet blood fruits were instantly blown up. In an instant, countless broken limbs and corpses appeared around the valley. One ferocious beast after another was blown up into pieces. Fresh blood splattered everywhere and blood flowed like a river. All the ferocious beasts within a kilometer radius were blown up, not a single one was left alive. The huge impact swept out and huge craters appeared on the ground. Soil flew everywhere and rocks collapsed. All the ferocious beasts that dared to approach the scarlet blood fruits were all killed. Shoot down those flying beasts. Lin Bao gave the second order. Da-da-da. The 20 or so members of the cheetah regiment who had long been prepared immediately took out their laser guns and spread them out in different positions, firing wildly at the sky. All of a sudden, a terrifying web of death appeared in the sky, covering the surroundings. Those flying beasts were caught off guard, and they were completely unable to defend against such laser guns. Bang bang bang. One by one the flying beasts cried out in pain. Their bodies were pierced by the laser beams and blood spurted out. They were like dumplings being thrown into a pot and they fell from the sky one by one. That's amazing. Han Shan and the others were dumbfounded. This was the first time they had seen the strength of this group of criminals. Their weapons were excellent and when they went all out, even if a martial warrior wanted to rush over, he would probably be killed by such a tyrannical explosion. One could imagine that if these bandits did not want to capture them alive, they would probably have been killed by these bandits. In just a few minutes, the ferocious beasts around the valley were wiped out by such fierce firepower. Some of the ferocious beasts wanted to come over, but when they saw the death of their companions, they did not dare to go forward and retreated. All of a sudden, the ferocious beasts around the valley disappeared completely, and no one dared to go up to snatch the fruits. Haha, it's just a group of ferocious beasts. How can they resist the power of technology? A bandit laughed out loud. Just the bombs alone are enough to send all of you to heaven. If it was a head-on confrontation, they would definitely be torn to pieces by this group of ferocious beasts. However, by setting up a bomb trap they could easily kill this group of ferocious beasts. The scarlet blood fruit belongs to me now. Lin Bao clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes revealed a trace of burning light. He looked at the center of the valley, and the 3 scarlet blood fruits were still hanging on the tree unharmed. However, they emitted waves of scarlet light, and contained a huge amount of energy that made people drool. At this moment, there was nothing that could stop him from obtaining the scarlet blood fruits. Shio shio shio. Suddenly, a stone flew over from afar, cutting through the air and tearing everything apart. With a bang, the tree branch broke and was sliced into pieces by this stone, unable to withstand it. In an instant, the 3 scarlet blood fruits that were originally hanging on the tree immediately fell. What? Lin Bao and the others were shocked and furious. Who exactly was it that dared to make a move at this moment? However, before the 3 scarlet blood fruits fell to the ground, another stone the size of a disc flew over, and with incomparable precision, it just happened to catch the 3 scarlet blood fruits. It spun crazily in the air like a spinning dart and produced a strong spinning force. After rushing to a certain extent, it actually returned to its original position. In a few breaths, this disc-like stone carried the 3 scarlet blood fruits and flew to the top of a small mountain nearby. It can't be, can it? Chapter 98. Damn it. Lin Bao was unable to restrain his anger. Who was it? Who did it? Who stole my scarlet blood fruits? Are you fucking courting death? Let me ask you, are you courting death? Lin Bao's anger had reached its peak. It was as if there were hundreds of volcanoes erupting in his heart. His face was flushed red and even his head was emitting smoke. One could imagine how angry he was. In order to obtain these 3 scarlet blood fruits, he exhausted all his wealth and spent a huge sum of money to purchase a large number of weapons. He gathered countless brothers and came to the Beast Island. He did not know how much he had to pay. Now that he had spent all his money, the bombs were all gone and more than half of his companions were dead, but someone actually dared to steal the scarlet blood fruits in front of him. If this wasn't making him fight with his life on the line, what else could it be? Bang! At this moment, a figure appeared on top of the small mountain. With a grab of his hand, he immediately grabbed the circular rock. Nailhead 7 Arrows Technique's second form, Death Spiral. With a bang, the circular rock shattered, and the 3 scarlet blood fruits fell into his hands. It's Xia Ping. Han Shan and the others had sharp eyes like eagles. They immediately saw the figure on top of the small mountain. It was actually Xia Ping. Even if this guy turned into ashes, they would still recognize him. It can't be. The scarlet blood fruits were actually obtained by Xia Ping. This is too big of a joke. The eyes of the captured students turned green. They were extremely jealous and their mentality was completely out of balance. They were so pitiful, captured by this group of bandits, tortured, and could not even protect themselves. But this brat, not only was nothing happened to him, he even snatched away the scarlet blood fruit in front of these bandits, obtaining great benefits. This kind of contrast was something they could not accept. Haha, the 3 scarlet blood fruits are finally in my hands. Xia Ping smiled faintly. He aimed for the right moment and made his move, using the second form of the Nailhead 7 Arrows Technique's Death Spiral. This move used a unique technique to make the hidden weapon spin in the air, tearing the surrounding enemies apart. It was a group attack, but it could also bring the scarlet blood fruits back to where they came from. Sure enough, this move of his really succeeded. Even from 2 kilometers away, Xia Ping could easily control his hidden weapons and obtain the scarlet blood fruit. There was no need for him to go to the center of the valley, and no one could have imagined this move. The members of the cheetah group were also dumbfounded. After all, they couldn't imagine that there was such a terrifying hidden weapon cultivation method in this world. It was simply beyond their imagination. He is Xia Ping? Hearing the words of Han Shan and the others, Lin Bao was both shocked and furious. Old hatred and new hatred surged up in his heart. It was this damned bastard who had killed so many of his subordinates, causing him to lose more than half of his elite forces. Now he actually wanted to snatch his scarlet blood fruit. This was as if he had snatched away all of his wealth, and he still wanted to seduce his beautiful wife. No one could stand this kind of thing. Kill him. Kill him immediately. Lin Bao was unable to restrain his anger and roared with all his might. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, more than a dozen ace shooters aimed at Xia Ping and fired wildly at the mountain peak. Beams of lasers traversed several kilometers, forming a light screen of death that tore everything apart. There were even a few people holding rocket launchers and firing at the mountain peak, attacking indiscriminately. This kind of artillery shell was extremely terrifying. If one fell, everything within a radius of several hundred meters would be blown to ashes. Bang bang bang. In just a breath's time, the mountain peak was attacked by extremely terrifying artillery fire. The mountain peak was razed to the ground, and even the small mountain peak felt like it was going to collapse. One could imagine how fierce the artillery fire was. Even a martial artist would not be able to survive under such artillery fire. However, Xia Ping had already expected that the other party would fly into a rage. Without waiting for Lin Bao to give the order, he jumped down from the mountain peak and fled into the distance. He did not waste any time at all. Therefore, this coverage attack could not do anything to him at all. It only blasted an empty space. Chase after him immediately. I must kill this bastard and tear him into pieces. Lin Bao was extremely furious. He gave the order for his subordinates to attack with all their strength. No matter what, he could not let the cooked duck escape. The 3 scarlet blood fruits must not fall into the hands of that bastard or he would really go bankrupt. Want to catch up to me? Xia Ping glanced sideways at the bandits who were chasing after him crazily. His heart was not moved at all. Crane fist, flying crane soaring. In an instant, his whole body turned into a flying crane. He controlled the airflow and was extremely fast. In an instant, he disappeared into the forest. The bandits were immediately shocked, and their faces were extremely ugly, because they knew that it was too difficult to catch up to Xia Ping now. There was a distance of 2 to 3 kilometers between them, and Xia Ping was so fast that he was like a flying crane. Unless these people had wings, they would not be able to catch up at all. In just a few minutes, Xia Ping's figure disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Like a drop of sand in the desert, they could not find him no matter how hard they tried. Damn, this Xia Ping really slipped away. He did not even care about us. Not to mention caring about him, even looking at him seems to be a waste of energy. This is too hateful. In any case, we are all from Tianshui City. Although we all have hatred, we can't do this. Shameless, this bastard is simply eating human blood. If I die, I will not let him go even if I become a ghost. The faces of Han Shan and the others turned green. Seeing Xia Ping leave unscathed, they were extremely angry. Although they also knew that Xia Ping had no obligation to save them, seeing this bastard obtain such a huge benefit and leave unscathed, they were still unconvinced and very unwilling. Why could this kid have such a good life with girls by his side? After obtaining the treasure, they were captured and tortured by the bandits. This was too unfair. Damn it, this is too despicable. Seeing Xia Ping's figure disappear, Lin Bao was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Both his eyes were bloodshot. He could not accept this reality. The scarlet blood fruit slipped away before his eyes. Xia Ping, don't think that you can escape like this. Lin Bao looked up to the sky and roared, I will definitely find you. As long as you are on the Beast Island, you will definitely not be able to escape. At that time, I will definitely tear your body into pieces and make you wish you were dead. His long roar contained a terrifying hatred. Many of the cheetah group's eyes were also bloodshot. They would definitely not forgive this bastard. At this time, Xia Ping immediately left more than 10 kilometers and ran desperately. The system's voice also came in time. Congratulations to the host. Someone has developed an endless hatred towards the host. Hatred value plus 1000. Hatred value plus 1000. Chapter 99. System, how many aggro points do I have now? Xia Ping asked. Although he had spent a lot of aggro points before, he had gained a lot after coming to Beast Island. Overall, it should have increased a lot. Host, you now have a total of 12,350 aggro points. The system replied. Xia Ping rubbed his chin. He didn't expect his aggro points to exceed 10,000, but most of the aggro points should be contributed by those bandits. This kind of endless aggro is generally very difficult to generate. This time, I didn't expect to get so much aggro points. Xia Ping smiled slightly, but although these aggro points were a lot, if he really spent them, they would disappear in the blink of an eye. Forget it, let's go back to the cave first. With these red blood fruits, it will be easy for me to break through to the 8th heavenly layer. When the time comes, I'll settle the score with those bandits. With a swoosh, Xia Ping quickly moved forward, setting up some traps along the way to prevent those bandits from tracking him. After a few laps, he returned to the cave. And at this time, the sky was already dark. Xia Ping. Hearing the voice outside the cave, Jianghu and the others immediately became vigilant, but they soon found that the person who came back was Xia Ping, and were immediately surprised. Xia Ping, are you okay? Did you suffer any injuries? How are those bandits? Did they hurt you? You haven't come back for so long, we thought something big happened to you. Fortunately, you came back in time. A group of women chattered, looking at Xia Ping very worriedly. I'm fine, I just went to investigate, I didn't fight with those bandits. Xia Ping waved his hand indicating that he was fine, but the harvest this time is very big. I found that there are about 23 bandits at least above the 8th heavenly layer. And they have a lot of excellent weapons, rocket launchers, mortars, grenades, laser guns and so on. Their firepower is fierce, and ordinary martial artists can only be annihilated if they approach. All the women were shocked. They also knew that these bandits were not simple, but hearing Xia Ping say this, they really realized how powerful these bandits were. With so many weapons, even if a martial artist came, they would dare to fight. What about the jammer? Did you find where they put their jammers? Jianghu asked. Xia Ping thought for a moment and said, it's on their boss. It seems that these bandits are very cautious and know the importance of the jammer, so the boss carries it with him all the time. No one can touch it. And the bandit boss's cultivation base is also extremely powerful. He is a martial artist at the peak of the 9th heaven. He has been through hundreds of battles and has the instinct of a beast. He is not so easy to deal with. Although it was just a glimpse, he noticed that the aura of the leader of the cheetah squad was not simple. At the same time, he also noticed that there was a jammer hanging on his waist. The eyes of all the women flickered. If the interference device was with the boss, it would be even more difficult to succeed. After all, if they wanted to kill the boss, they would have to fight all the bandits. Where are the students? Did you notice that some students were captured there? Chu Rong was concerned about this. Xia Ping nodded. There were indeed some students who were captured by the bandits and treated as captives. They seemed to have been tortured. But the situation was too dangerous, so I didn't care and could only come back first. Chu Rong and the others were silent. Their hearts sank. Sure enough, there were many students who were captured. They didn't know how long they could hold out and whether they could wait for the teachers to return to Beast Island. But it was not very realistic for them to rescue them. Those bandits were too powerful. If they went up, they would not be saving people but throwing away their lives. This kind of thing was not worth the loss. However, Xia Ping ignored the thoughts of these people and said directly, "Because of today's battle, I have benefited a lot. I have occasionally had some enlightenment. I think I may be able to break through today. So, I'm going to go into seclusion for the night." After saying that, he turned and walked towards the depths of the cave. This cave was very deep, and there were small caves inside that could be used as a quiet room for temporary seclusion without being disturbed. What? He's about to break through? Hearing this, Jianghu was stunned. She knew that this bastard Xia Ping had just advanced to the 7th heaven, but now he wanted to break through again. Did he want to break through to the 8th heaven? God knows how much effort she had spent to advance to the 7th heaven, but this kid was good. Breaking through was as simple as eating and drinking. Occasionally having an epiphany, he's about to break through? The corner of Chu Rong's mouth couldn't help but twitch. Although she was not as familiar with Xia Ping as Jianghu, she was also stunned by Xia Ping's breakthrough. When he fought with her before, he had just broken through to the 7th heaven, but not long after, he was about to break through to the 8th heaven, and was about to surpass her. Even if she exhausted her imagination, she couldn't imagine such a thing. Amazing as expected of Xia Ping. He can break through with just a little insight. If this is not a genius, what is a genius? A character like Han Shan is not even worthy of carrying his shoes. The gap is too big. You can't say that. Han Shan is also a genius, but Xia Ping is a monster. He's completely different. Just the 7th heaven is so powerful, sweeping away a group of bandits. If he is promoted to the 8th heaven, how can those bandits be his opponent? A group of girls discussed excitedly. They didn't think as much as Jianghu and Chu Rong. In this situation, the stronger Xia Ping was, the better. The bandits would not dare to be arrogant anymore. At this time, Xia Ping entered the depths of the cave and found a secret space. Then he sat down cross-legged and took out 3 scarlet blood fruits from his clothes. These 3 heaven and earth strange fruits, even in the dark space, still emitted a scarlet light, shining brightly, emitting a strange fragrance, making people feel refreshed. With a snap, Xia Ping immediately ate these 3 scarlet blood fruits. When the scarlet blood fruits entered his mouth, they immediately turned into a ball of liquid, melted in his mouth, poured into his throat, and entered his limbs in hundreds of meridians. Boom! Suddenly the majestic energy contained in the 3 scarlet blood fruits exploded in his body, like a warm current, surging around his meridians. The true qi in his body increased crazily, and every cell in his body greedily absorbed this energy. At the same time, his body turned red, emitting bursts of water vapor, as if his body was in magma, and even the surrounding air was emitting a scorching temperature. It's time to break through. Xia Ping's eyes revealed a glimmer of light, and he operated the pure yang immortal art, quickly refining this majestic energy, breaking through the 8th meridian. With a bang, true qi surged like the sea, breaking through the 8th meridian in an instant. Chapter 100. The next morning, the sky was just beginning to brighten. Xia Ping opened his eyes and exhaled a breath of air. It immediately condensed into a solid form like a white chain. With a bang, this breath of white air was like a sharp arrow, instantly piercing a large hole in the mountain wall. It was just a breath, and it showed tyrannical power. Amazing, worthy of being a red blood fruit, the effect is too amazing. After meditating for a night, constantly digesting and absorbing the energy of the 3 red blood fruits, Xia Ping felt that the benefits of his life were too great. Even if he had broken through to the 8th heavenly layer, the medicinal power of the 3 red blood fruits still did not disappear. Instead, it settled everywhere in his body, waiting for him to open it again. If he could digest these energies, even if he broke through to the peak of the 9th heavenly layer, it would not be a problem. Pa pa pa. At this time, Xia Ping stood up, the bones of his whole body crackled, and the golden drums rang together, as if containing the thunder of tigers and leopards, showing a tyrannical and unparalleled power. After being promoted to the 8th heavenly layer, not only has the true qi in his body greatly increased, but even his physique has been frantically tempered by the true qi, and his strength has also increased a lot. He estimated that the power of his punch was at least 20,000 jin of strength, far above the ordinary 9th heavenly layer powerhouse. and one punch was enough to beat a monster into meat sauce. Not only strength but also spiritual force has increased a lot? Xiaoping closed his eyes, and he felt that his Baihui acupoint seemed to have been tempered because of the breakthrough of his cultivation base. His spiritual force spread out, and the spread of 1 meter by 1 meter had far exceeded the previous distance, and even reached a distance of 100 meters. In this range he knew clearly any movement in the wind and grass. It was estimated that even the powerhouse who had just been promoted to the martial artist realm was inferior to him in terms of spiritual force alone. Let's try my current strength. Xiaoping's heart moved, and he left the quiet room and walked towards the outside of the cave. At this time he came to the cave, but found that many women were lying on the ground sleeping. Moreover, their sleeping posture was very indecent, and they were all lying around. Perhaps it was because there were women around, but the women didn't care very much. Their clothes were torn open, revealing most of their white and tender skin. Especially those legs, that chest, it looked extremely seductive. What a spring. Light, bright, charming picture. I didn't expect there to be such benefits. It's good to train outside. Xiaoping rubbed his chin, admiring the scenery. He was in a good mood. He felt that his spiritual power seemed to have increased a little at this moment. At this moment the girls seemed to have heard the footsteps as well. One by one they woke up and looked at Xiaoping with sleepy eyes. Xiaoping, have you finished your seclusion? Jianghu yawned and stretched, revealing her beautiful figure. This kind of figure was enough to make countless men go crazy. She was a little drowsy from sleep. It's over. Xiaoping said with a smile, looking her up and down. Your clothes are very good, your taste is not bad. But I think lace underwear is better. It's transparent and more charming. Of course, I also like your patterned underwear. Looks very cute. He also secretly sighed in admiration. As expected of a beauty that reigned above countless women in 95th High School, causing countless little boys to go crazy. With such beauty and such a figure, it was definitely not for show. Humph. Don't think that praising me will give you any benefits. Hearing the first half of Xiaoping's sentence, Jianghu was in a good mood. She snorted a few times, thinking that this guy was trying to flatter her. But when she heard the second half, her expression changed. That's not right. How did this bastard know that her underwear had patterns? Subconsciously, she looked down at her lower body. Immediately, she discovered her current situation. She didn't know when her pants had been taken off by the girls next to her. Most of her long legs were exposed. Jianghu let out an earth-shattering scream. Her face instantly turned as red as a tomato. Her hands frantically covered her lower body as if trying to stop her. But no matter how she tried to stop it, there was a risk that this bastard Xiaoping would take advantage of her. What's wrong? Is there an enemy attack? Hearing this scream, Chu Rong was also woken up. She subconsciously jumped up and looked around cautiously. But no matter how she looked, she couldn't find any enemies. But she quickly discovered that Xiaoping, who was standing in front of her, was stunned. She also remembered that Xiaoping had been in seclusion last night. He should have come out today. Chu Rong, what are you doing? Hurry up and put on your clothes. Don't let this bastard take advantage of you. Jianghu's face was completely red. She immediately grabbed Chu Rong because this silly girl had also taken off most of her clothes. Chu Rong's face turned red and she also screamed. She was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. She didn't know what to do. Ever since the martial arts competition, she had once again encountered such a shameful thing. And it was in front of this shameless man. She frantically picked up her clothes from the ground. What's with all the noise? Don't you know it's still early in the morning? I still want to get my beauty sleep. That's right. Don't you know that fatigue is the natural enemy of beauty? Go learn some beauty knowledge. Hurry up and get up. There's a man here. We've lost big time. Everything's been seen. So it's Xiaoping. If it's this man, it's fine to take a look. That's right. If it's Xiaoping, there's no problem at all. I'm even willing to roll in the sheets. Shameless woman, be a bit more reserved. Don't do it so early in the morning. The group of women were in a frenzy. Their faces were completely red as they hurriedly put on their clothes. There were also some women who were throwing flirtatious glances at Xiaoping. They didn't seem to care about this kind of thing at all. But these women were also being suppressed by the other women. They threw their clothes over to cover their bodies. Get out, shameless man. Get out of here immediately. Jianghu and Chu Rong were half dead with anger. Their faces were completely red. They picked up their clothes and threw them at Xiaoping, telling this bastard to get out of the cave. If they allowed this shameless man to continue staying here, who knew what would happen? Perhaps he would become beastly and attack women like them who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Don't be fooled by this bastard's usual serious appearance. When he wasn't serious, he probably wasn't human. What's the point? We're already old couples. This is something that will happen sooner or later. Xia Ping didn't think it was a big problem to take a look. In any case, he wouldn't lose a piece of flesh. Sooner my ass. Get out of here immediately. Jianghu flew into a rage. She picked up a millstone-sized rock and threw it at him. Whoosh! Xia Ping's figure flashed, easily dodging the rock. With a bang, the rock smashed into the ground and shattered into pieces. It caused the ground to shake and dust to billow everywhere. Chapter 101. Leaving the cave, Xia Ping casually found an open space nearby. Let's see to what extent my physical strength has reached. Xia Ping stood on the open space and squeezed his fists casually. His muscles vibrated, and it seemed that the air was crackling as if even the air was squeezed by his fists. With a bang, he punched toward the distance and it actually produced an explosion. The strength of his whole body was vibrating, producing an explosive airflow like the roar of thunder. My strength has indeed reached the level of more than 20,000 kilograms. Xia Ping's eyes showed a glimmer of light. He felt that all his muscles were like steel, and every inch of them was full of explosive power. Even if his internal organs were extremely powerful, a little exhalation would be a strong wind, and a light punch could penetrate a wall, and nothing could stop it. Let's try practicing 5 forms fist. Xia Ping's figure flashed and his whole person moved as he pleased. His spiritual force had greatly increased, and it seemed that his control over his own strength had also become a lot stronger. This feeling was as if spiritual force penetrated into every cell, allowing him to manipulate it at will. Bang bang bang. In an instant he began to practice 5 forms fist, tiger fist, leopard fist, dragon fist, crane fist, snake fist, and so on. The wonderful footwork was displayed, and at the same time, countless fists were blasted out in the void. In the air there seemed to be phantoms of tigers, cheetahs, dragons, white cranes, poisonous snakes, and so on roaring in the void, exuding a fierce momentum, and there was a burst of explosions in the air. Now the power of a casual punch is more than double that of before, extremely tyrannical. Even if 5 forms fist is only a basic fist technique, but it has reached the realm of perfection, coupled with Xia Ping's strength of the 8th heavenly layer, it is enough to tear monsters and shake the earth. When Xia Ping finished practicing 5 forms fist, the open space was already a mess, broken limbs and bones were everywhere, there were holes in the ground, and the surrounding rocks were shattered into pieces. It was as if they had been subjected to fierce gunfire. Ravaged, it was extremely terrifying. Sure enough, the 9 heavenly layers of martial artists are stronger than the previous one, and the later it is, the greater the gap, and of course, it is more difficult to break through. Xia Ping sighed. Although the difference between the 7th heavenly layer and the 8th heavenly layer was only one realm, the strength difference was a lot, even greater than the gap between the 6th heavenly layer and the 7th heavenly layer. Even if you reach the martial disciple 9 heavens and connect 9 meridians, 9 return to 1, through 100 meridians, and integrate them into 1, your strength will change even more terrifying, and the amount of true chi will increase geometrically. However, it is even more difficult to break through. Some people spend more than 10 years and may not be able to promote from the 8th heavenly layer to the 9th heavenly layer, and they are stuck in this realm. However, I have consumed 3 scarlet blood fruits, and my body has obtained a huge amount of energy. It has saved me a lot of effort in accumulating true chi, and I don't need to slowly absorb the spiritual chi of the world. Xia Ping squeezed his fist. As long as I can completely refine the energy of the scarlet blood fruit in my body, then I will be promoted to the martial disciple 9th heavenly layer. This was the benefit of a mysterious treasure of heaven and earth. Obtaining one was enough to save an ordinary martial arts expert more than 10 years of effort. This was also why so many martial artists desired to obtain one. Xia Ping, where are you? All of a sudden Jianghu's voice rang out from the cave. He sounded very anxious. Oh. Xia Ping's figure flashed, and he immediately returned from the flat ground. With a few leaps he arrived in front of the cave, and immediately saw Jianghu and the others appear in the cave. What's wrong? What's the matter? Xia Ping looked at Jianghu and the others. They were now dressed neatly, but their faces revealed a dignified expression, as if something big had happened. Jianghu said in a low voice, "Just now, Shao Qin and the others went out to hunt beasts, wanting to prepare for today's breakfast. But along the way they found this thing around the forest. She took out a piece of tree bark from her body, and there seemed to be some words written on it. Xiaoping stared at it and it said, "Contact me at noon. Xiaoping, come to the central mountain range of Beast Island, or your classmates and alumni will be slaughtered one by one. For every minute you are late, one will be killed." These words revealed a dense murderous intent, causing one's heart to palpitate. This tree bark is everywhere in the forest, almost all around Beast Island. Chu Rong guessed, maybe those bandits couldn't find your whereabouts so they used this dirty method to force you out. All the girls were furious. These bandits were too despicable. They couldn't find their whereabouts so they actually used such a dirty method. Did they think that they would commit the crime just like that? It was completely conceivable that once they appeared in the central mountain range of Beast Island, they would definitely be surrounded and attacked by those bandits. At that time, they would be hunted down by those bandits and die without a burial. Xiaoping, ignore those bandits' request. Roland said in a low voice, in any case the teachers will be back in 2 days with the spaceship. At that time, when the martial warriors arrive, these bandits will definitely die without a burial. Not a single one will be able to escape. Right now they are even more anxious than us. However, there were also some girls who fell silent. If they didn't appear, the other students would definitely die. However, they weren't so noble as to throw away their lives for the sake of other students. Xiaoping, on the other hand, had a strange expression on his face. These bandits were really stupid. They thought that using this kind of method would be able to force him out. If those bandits had caught someone he was familiar with, perhaps he would really be forced to go over. However, those people that were caught by those bandits all hated him to the bone. How could he go over and save them? Anyway, there was no benefit in saving them. He might as well let those bandits slaughter these students. However, his hands were a little itchy right now. He wanted to test his skills and perhaps these bandits were the best targets. You guys hide for now. I'll play with those bandits, Xiaoping said to Jianghu and the others. Jianghu was shocked. Do you really want to go over alone? This is a trap. Don't be stupid. Once you go over, you'll definitely be surrounded and attacked by those bandits. Yeah, you can't go over. People must know their limits, Chu Rong said in a low voice. If you know that you're throwing away your life, you're not a hero, you're just an idiot. No. Xiaoping waved his hand. I don't plan on falling into those bandits' trap. I'm just too lazy to wait for 2 days. I want to eliminate those bandits now. If those bandits continue to live, they'll be an eyesore. An eyesore? Jianghu and the others looked at Xiaoping speechlessly. Then what do you want to do? Chu Rong asked curiously. Chapter 102. At the center of the Beast Island on a mountaintop. Hundreds of students were captured and tied up on the ground. All of them had bruises on their faces and looked miserable. They were all captured by the Cheetah Regiment. Yesterday, because Xiaoping had stolen the scarlet blood fruit, the Cheetah group had been enraged. They swore to find Xiaoping and tear him to pieces. However, they hadn't expected that Xiaoping would meet another student instead. In the end, those students were unlucky. They were all captured alive and couldn't escape. Those who wanted to resist were beaten up by these bandits. However, the Cheetah Regiment was not satisfied because they couldn't find the culprit, Xiaoping. Damn it. The leader of the Cheetah Regiment, Lin Bao, gritted his teeth. Where is that bastard hiding? Why can't we find him? He was so angry that he didn't sleep for the whole night just to find Xiaoping. However, the Beast Island was too big. It was 100,000 square kilometers and there were forests everywhere. If a person wanted to hide, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. That bastard is a coward. He dared to steal our things, but he doesn't dare to come out? If he has the guts, come out and fight with us for 300 rounds. Once we find that bastard, we will immediately tear him into pieces. No, let's torture him for half an hour first. Otherwise, I won't be able to vent my anger. The group of bandits raged. In order to find that bastard, they had crossed mountains and ravines for God knows how long. Now all of them had panda eyes and were extremely sleepy. However, this didn't matter. Their hatred for Xiaoping was greater than anything else. They wouldn't rest until he was dead. Don't worry, we have placed a lot of information around the forest. As long as he sees it, he will know that we have captured many of his classmates and even alumni. Lin Bao clenched his fist. As long as that kid has a little conscience, he will definitely surrender and obediently come to the mountaintop to be killed by us. This was a vicious plan to use those students as hostages. To be honest, although this plan was old, it had always been successful. Sometimes, these bandits would use hostages to threaten the police and obtain a chance to escape. He believed that the kid was also a student and would definitely be soft-hearted and unwilling to see his classmates die. But it's almost noon now, and that brat has no intention of appearing at all. What should we do when the time comes? Some of the bandits were worried that the kid hadn't seen the message left in the jungle. If that was the case, then everything they had done would have been in vain. They would have been flirting with the blind. Lin Bao coldly snorted. We're in the underworld, so we have to keep our word. If we say we'll kill them after the time is up, then we'll kill them. Anyway, if that brat doesn't show up by noon, we'll slaughter these idiots. His body exuded a deep murderous aura that made people tremble in fear. When the group of students heard this, their faces turned pale and they began to tremble uncontrollably. No, boss, that bastard has no conscience. He's a bad guy. There's no one worse than him in the world. That bastard won't come to save us. You're killing innocent people. When Han Shan of Jianghu Middle School heard Lin Bao's words, he was so scared that his eyes turned green, and he cried out in grievance. That's right, wanting to use us to threaten that shameless Xiaoping is simply dreaming. Everyone here has enmity with him. We hate him to the bone. Why would he come to save us? That kid can't wait for us to die. When he hears that we've been caught, maybe he'll kick us while we're down. He might even open champagne to celebrate. Boss, you have to think twice. It's useless to catch us to threaten Xiaoping. It's really useless. The group of students shouted loudly, feeling extremely aggrieved. They had simply suffered an undeserved calamity. Because of that bastard Xiaoping, they were actually captured by this group of angry bandits. Especially the students of Wuwei Martial Arts Hall, all of them were scared to death. They knew that this bastard was a god of plagues, but they didn't expect to be affected by this shameless bastard after hiding for such a long distance. Who was more unlucky than them? Shut up. Lin Bao stared at these students. You're still lying here. You're all schoolmates. How can your relationship with him be bad? Do you want to bully me because I haven't studied for many years? A group of bandits looked at these students with a sneer, thinking that these people were lying. Did they think that they could survive by saying that they were Xiaoping's enemy? They weren't so easily fooled by the other party. Han Shan was extremely aggrieved. No one believed him when he said that he had a bad relationship with Xiaoping. He quickly said, Boss, you have to believe us. All of us have a grudge against Xiaoping. This is true. You don't know that bastard is simply a disgusting guy. Everyone wants to kill him. We all want to beat him up. I hope he is unlucky. A group of students nodded in unison. They all agreed with this point very much. This was a rare unanimous opinion. What about you? I heard that you are a student of 95th Middle School. You are all schoolmates of the same school. You must have a good relationship with him? Lin Bao stared at a group of students of 95th Middle School with a fierce look in his eyes. They were Xiong Badian, Tao Yun, Gao Xing, Hongyu and others. These people were also very unlucky. They wanted to go out to hunt a few beasts, but they were inadvertently caught by the angry cheetah group on the spot and beaten violently. Now they were bruised and swollen. No, I hate that brat to the bone. Xiong Badian said with grief and indignation, that brat once beat me up in the arena and sent me to the hospital for a week. That bastard also gave me a nickname, Blockhead. From then on, no one called me Xiong Badian. They all called me Blockhead. I used to be the little overlord of the school. No one dared to provoke me. Since I was beaten up by him, no one is afraid of me. After all, who would be afraid of a blockhead? He looked up to the sky and roared. Me too. I was also beaten up. I went to the hospital for a week and spent more than 100,000 in medical expenses. Gao Xing also looked aggrieved and quickly distanced himself from Xiaoping. I'm the worst. Tao Yun cried. At that time, I was humiliated by him in the arena. I was beaten black and blue. Finally, I left the arena crying. Later, I was named the crybaby by my classmates. Now I'm laughed at when I go out. They say I'm a woman. I hate him to the bone. His cry was mournful and showed his true feelings. According to the vicious eyes of the cruel criminals such as the cheetah group, they could see at once that these people were not acting. This Xiaoping, everyone has the right to punish him. I didn't expect that even people from the same school would be killed by him. Think about it, they are all from the same school. Naturally, there is a good chance of meeting him. That bastard is probably unhappy with bullying his classmates, and he has begun to bring disaster to the fish pond and harm people from other schools. Damn, that's why we are so miserable and beaten by him several times. Is no one to punish such a bully? Chapter 103. I didn't expect that there would be people in this world who are even more savage than us, the cheetah group. Hearing the words of these students, a bandit looked up to the sky and sighed. It seems that this Xia Ping is simply the public enemy. Sooner or later he will become a wanted criminal. Who knows, he might even be more famous than us in the future and even more ferocious. He didn't know why, but when he heard these students' words he felt a little sympathetic. The other bandits also couldn't help but nod their heads. This Xia Ping seemed to have a criminal record, no wonder he was so despicable. He even stole their scarlet blood fruit and killed their people. The leader of the cheetah regiment, Lin Bao, was a little dumbfounded. Why was this fellow so hateful? If this was really the case, then what was the use of him capturing these students to threaten the other party? Right at that moment one of the bandits was shocked. That was because his communicator had rung. He immediately said, "Boss, my communicator is ringing. Someone wants to contact us." What? A cold glint flashed in Lin Bao's eyes. Answer it immediately. It's probably that brat. The bandit nodded and immediately answered the call. As expected, Xia Ping's voice came through the communicator. "Hello, is this the cheetah squad? I'm Xia Ping. To tell you the truth, don't bully my classmates and friends. Otherwise I'll fight you to the death. Do you understand?" Many of the bandits immediately perked up. Not only were they not angry, but they were all overjoyed. Since the other party cared about their schoolmates, then there was something to talk about. However, there were also some bandits who looked at these students ferociously because these guys had just said that they had a grudge with Xia Ping and that it was impossible for them to save them. However, what was going on now? Who was lying? Seeing his ferocious gaze, Han Shan and the others all paled. They hated Xia Ping to death. "Don't worry, as long as you obediently come to the central mountain range of Beast Island and hand over the 3 scarlet blood fruits, your classmates and schoolmates will naturally be fine. Otherwise their fates will be very miserable." Lin Bao's tone was filled with coldness. "Will I die?" Xia Ping's voice seemed to be filled with fear, and his expression was stern. "I'm warning you, it doesn't matter if you hurt other people, but you can't hurt Han Shan of Jianghu High School. That person has been my good friend for many years, a friend of mine through life and death. Back then I fell in love with his girlfriend, but for the sake of our friendship, he resolutely broke up with her and helped us. That was our friendship. You can touch anyone but Han Shan, understand?" He warned the members of the cheetah regiment, specifically pointing out that the person was from Jianghu High School and not the other high schools. Life and death friends. Giving his girlfriend? Hearing this, the group of bandits were shocked. Just a moment ago, this brat had said that he hated Xia Ping to the bone, and simply wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible. What exactly was going on? Damn, your acting skills are really good. You even deceived us old hands. Young people nowadays are amazing. The new waves of the Yangtze River drive the old waves, and the old waves die on the beach. One of the bandits sighed, glaring at Han Shan viciously. His heart was filled with rage from being deceived. Han Shan was so angry that he almost died. If Xia Ping was standing in front of him, he would definitely fight that bastard to the death. How was this trying to save him? He was clearly trying to kill him. No, it's not like that. I'm not familiar with that bastard at all. We only met for the first time a few days ago. It's true. You have to believe me, believe me. Han Shan shouted, himself hoarse with extreme grief and indignation. With a bang, a bandit stepped forward and smashed a fist over. Even Han Shan's front teeth were broken and blood splattered. He said angrily, "We're life and death friends. You're even willing to give your girlfriend to your brother. What kind of friendship is that? You fucking said that we only met a few days ago. You're really good at lying. I was almost fooled by you before." "Oh, Xia Ping, I'm going to kill you." Han Shan roared at the sky. He was extremely resentful. If it wasn't for this bastard's big mouth, he wouldn't be in such a miserable state. "Kill my ass. Still pretending." With a bang, another bandit punched Han Shan again, sending him flying. Both of his eyes were swollen, turning into panda eyes. Xia Ping's voice sounded again, "There's also my childhood sweetheart Xiong Badian. He's a good friend of mine for many years. We wear the same pants. When I was a child he often gave me his toys to play with. We're friends of 8 generations. You can't touch him either. Alright, there's also Tao Yun. His sister is now my 3rd girlfriend. He's my brother-in-law. You can't touch him either. Otherwise, his beautiful sister will fight me to the death. Goldman Sachs and Hong, you are my good friends for 3 years. We studied hard and went out to prostitutes together. Our relationship is very close. He pointed out a few names in a row, saying that these people had a great relationship with him and that they couldn't touch them. Otherwise, the 3 scarlet blood fruits wouldn't have come. However, the more Xiaoping said, the more annoyed those bandits were. Their lungs almost exploded from anger. Their eyes were ferocious to the extreme as they stared at those students. The surroundings were filled with an oppressive atmosphere. Young people are amazing. Their acting skills are top-notch. Lin Bao, the boss of the cheetah group, said faintly, "Do you really think that we old course men don't study enough and drop out of high school like fools, and it's easy to be deceived by you with a few words? However, you're really amazing. All of you are qualified to go to first-class universities. You're so good at deceiving people before you graduate from high school. It's amazing. I personally admire your acting skills." The calmer his tone was, the more people around him could feel the anger in his heart. As a wanted criminal, a very famous wanted criminal, and also the boss of so many bandits, he was well informed and the crimes he had committed were hard to write. Such a bandit boss had actually been tricked by a few brat high school students, and had even been tricked into running around in circles as if they were fools. What kind of humiliation was this? Take them out and beat them for half an hour? Lin Bao said lightly. No, it's not like that. We really are enemies with that Xiaoping. That bastard is lying. He's lying. He's a bad person who's full of pus. He's guilty of all kinds of evil. Boss, you have to believe us. Don't believe the words of that bastard Xiaoping, not even the punctuation marks. Shameless Xiaoping, if we really die, we won't let you go even if we become ghosts. A group of students wailed in pain and hated Xiaoping to the bone. However, no matter how they wailed and struggled, no bandit would believe anything they said. They thought it was all acting, so they dragged them out one by one and beat them up. After the beating was over, these students were unrecognizable. Even their parents wouldn't be able to recognize them. Can't his words be trusted? Lin Bao's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. Do I need you students to teach me this kind of thing? I've already done it. Boss. At this time, a bandit came up and said in a deep voice, I found it. The signal from the communication device is in a valley 3 kilometers away. That kid is hiding there. Let's go and kill him together. Chapter 104. In a valley. The elites of the cheetah regiment were all out. They were scattered in every corner and surrounded the valley. They surrounded it from all directions silently, not letting anyone discover them. Is it here? Lin Bao stared at the valley. A bandit nodded. Yes, it's here. The signal came from here. That kid hasn't left yet. He doesn't know that his communication device's signal has been leaked. He probably thinks he can bargain with us. He revealed a cold smile. As expected of a student without any experience in society. Trying to negotiate with bandits like them was like dancing with poisonous snakes. In fact, they had no intention of negotiating with this kid. They just wanted to find his location and shoot him dead. Just based on the fact that he had killed so many members of the cheetah regiment, there was no way he could survive. Charge over and kill that kid. Under Lin Bao's command, the elites charged into the valley, captured the brat, and dismembered his corpse. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The elites of the cheetah regiment held guns in their hands as they quickly advanced. They moved in all directions at an extremely fast speed, each of them like a cheetah. However, when they entered the valley, they were all stunned. There's no one? One of the bandits was dumbfounded. He realized that there was no one in the valley. That kid, Xiaoping, seemed to have disappeared from this place. One of the bandits was puzzled. What's going on? Didn't you say that the signal came from this valley? Look, there's something on the ground. A sharp-eyed bandit immediately noticed that there seemed to be something on the ground. A group of people immediately surrounded it. Suddenly, 2 communication devices appeared on the yellow soil. They were tied together by branches. One was obviously responsible for contacting the cheetah regiment, while the other was equivalent to a relay device. It was responsible for transmitting sound. In other words, the other party had at least 3 communication devices. That bastard was using the 3rd device to transmit sound. This made them mistakenly think that the kid was in the valley. Damn it, we've been played. One of the bandits had an extremely ugly expression. He felt a sense of humiliation. They had mobilized so many people to come here, but there was no one there. Lin Bao could not help but clench his fists tightly as his eyes burned with anger. He had thought that he would be able to find that brat's whereabouts, but he did not expect that he would only be able to find a communication device. Boss, look, there seems to be something left over there. One of the thugs also noticed that there seemed to be a piece of tree bark next to the communicator. There were some words written on it. Lin Bao reached out and took it. On it was written, "The cheetah troop is buried here. Damn it. We've been tricked. Run." Seeing these words, he immediately thought of something. His expression changed drastically, and he desperately shouted for the surrounding bandits to run away. But it was too late. Rumble, at this moment, the bombs buried in the valley suddenly exploded. Hundreds of tons of explosives exploded at the same time, creating an earth-shattering explosion that shook the valley. The area within a radius of several hundred meters was razed to the ground. The heavens shook and the earth quaked. The nearby bandits were caught off guard and were instantly killed by the explosion. Their bodies were torn apart and they died without a burial. The entire valley was surrounded by thick black smoke, and the mountain rocks were shattered, creating a large crater. A black mushroom cloud appeared in the sky, causing the surrounding several kilometers to feel the intense tremors. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, Xia Ping, Jianghu, Chu Rong, and the others appeared on top of a small mountain, looking at the power of the explosion in the valley. Amazing! Chu Rong couldn't help but exclaim. She looked at Xia Ping in disbelief. Just how did you come up with this move? You actually set up such a trap and sent these bandits to heaven in an instant. The girls also couldn't help but look at Xia Ping in admiration. Originally, it was simply too difficult to completely wipe out these bandits. They had heavy weapons and many experts on them. If they got close, the only path left for them would be death. But Xia Ping had done the exact opposite. He had purposely set up a trap in the valley, planting a large number of explosives in advance. His goal was to lure these bandits into the valley. Who would have thought that this plan would actually succeed? Those bandits had been too smart for their own good. They had originally thought that this was a great opportunity to capture Xia Ping, but who would have thought that it would be a trap that would cost them their lives? It really is amazing. Jianghu also couldn't help but admit that this plan was very clever. Even she hadn't thought of such a method. He had completely schemed against those bandits. Not a single step was wrong. And he had even used the equipment they had obtained from the bandits, such as explosives, communication devices, and so on, as a simple trap. This was even more amazing. It's nothing. Aren't all cop shows like this? Xia Ping rubbed his chin, admiring the fireworks. He also didn't expect things to go so smoothly. When carrying out this plan, he had only wanted to give it a try. It didn't matter if it succeeded or not, but reality proved that those bandits had indeed fallen for it. Cop show. Jianghu and the others all shook their heads, indicating that they didn't understand what Xia Ping was talking about. However, this didn't stop them from admiring Xia Ping. Not only was he strong, but he was also a cut above the rest in terms of intelligence. It was just that he was a bit annoying, shamelessly lecherous, and his mouth was also very poisonous. These bandits are all dead. Teacher will probably be here soon, one of the girls sighed. She felt that the sky was finally clear after the storm, and she could finally leave this place full of nightmares. No, that's not right. The jammer hasn't been destroyed. Our signal can't come out. Chu Rong's expression changed. She could feel that her watch's signal still couldn't come out. What? All the girls were taken aback. Could it be that such a violent bomb was unable to destroy the jammer? Or could it be that the jammer wasn't even on these bandits but was hidden somewhere? Xia Ping. All of a sudden, an earth-shattering roar came from the distance. It was like the roar of an injured beast in despair. The rage was at its peak, and the entire atmosphere was filled with an extremely oppressive aura. Whoosh! A charred figure shot out from the valley like a cannonball, directly charging towards the mountain peak. His speed was extremely fast and he tore through the air. And this person was the leader of the cheetah squad, Lin Bao. He was still alive. Lin Bao was unable to restrain his anger. Large amounts of blood flowed out of his body, and his head stood up straight, emitting a burning smell. However, his body was also emitting an extremely dangerous aura. Jianghu and the others' pupils shrank. They felt that this person was extremely terrifying. Even though he was injured, he still seemed to have the power to kill them all. Chapter 105. Xia Ping, you deserve to die. You killed so many of my brothers. You deserve to die. Lin Bao, the leader of the cheetah group, was now furious. He stared at Xia Ping. No one knew how angry he was right now. It was because of his carelessness that he fell into this damn brat's trap, causing almost all the elites of the cheetah group to be buried. Only a few survived. Even he himself had taken the frenzied demon pill to stimulate his body's potential and temporarily advance to the half-step martial warrior realm. He had superhuman reflexes and speed to barely escape the bombardment of these bombs. I deserve to die? Hearing this, Xiaoping laughed coldly. You're the only one allowed to kill us, but we're not allowed to fight back? You're too naive. Or are you looking down on us? Be careful. Chu Rong's eyes flickered. I feel that the aura on his body is very unusual. It's not just the 9th layer of martial disciple, but also the power of the martial warrior realm. But it's strange, this power is not stable. It seems that it will fall at any time. The girls all sensed that this Lin Bao's aura was unusual. It was like an injured beast. Although it was on the verge of death, it was full of threat. No one knew who would be bitten to death. I've heard of a pill called the frenzied demon pill. Jianghu said solemnly, this pill can stimulate the body's potential, allowing the experts of the 9th layer to temporarily step into the half-step martial warrior realm. But the side effects are great. It requires more than 10 years of lifespan, and it may even cut off the hope of entering the martial warrior realm. I think this bandit should have taken a similar pill, so we must be more careful. Hearing this, Lin Bao sneered, as expected of a top student. You've done your homework well. That's right, in order to survive this explosion, I had no choice but to take the frenzied demon pill to temporarily increase my strength. But taking this valuable frenzied demon pill means that 10 years of my lifespan is gone, and it will be difficult for me to advance to the martial warrior realm in this life. In order to kill you, I wasted my future and burned my lifespan. Do you know how much hatred I have in my heart right now? I, Lin Bao, swear that I will skin you alive and tear you to pieces. Otherwise, how can I face my dead brothers? He roared hoarsely, and a monstrous murderous aura surged from his body. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Lin Bao's body moved. Like a crazed leopard, he tore through the air and dashed over, leaving only an afterimage in the air. So fast. Jiang Yaru and the others were all horrified. This kind of speed had already surpassed that of a powerhouse of the 9th heavenly layer. It was invisible to the naked eye like a storm. Die! Lin Bao roared angrily and punched out. He used his ultimate fist technique, Mad Leopard Godly Fist, Thunder Leopard Devour. This was almost the peak of the move, beyond the 9th heaven of the martial disciple realm, infinitely close to the strong of the martial warrior realm. This punch contained all the power he had accumulated in his entire life, and it contained a monstrous hatred. The true qi in his body burned crazily, and his blood seemed to be boiling. The roar of a cheetah could be faintly heard in the air. If an ordinary person were to face this punch, their legs would have turned to jelly before it even reached them. Be careful. Jiang Yaru and the others couldn't help but cry out. They could all sense how terrifying that punch was. They definitely couldn't take it head-on. Otherwise, their hearts would definitely be shattered on the spot, and their bodies would be torn apart. But Xiaoping didn't move. He just stood there calmly. Dong. The punch landed squarely on Xiaoping's chest, causing a huge explosion on the spot. The entire ground seemed to be unable to withstand the impact, and cracks appeared one after another. Even the ground where Xiaoping was standing had a deep pit, and his feet had collapsed. The entire mountain seemed to have been hit by this punch and was on the verge of collapse. How is this possible? Lin Bao's face showed a look of horror. He thought that his punch was bound to succeed. As long as he hit this kid, his heart would definitely be blown up by him and there would be no way for him to live. But who would have thought that his punch did hit the other party's chest, but did not kill this kid? Instead, he felt that his fist had hit a ball of cotton, constantly weakening the power of his fist. And what made him feel even more horrified was that this punch actually made the other party not take half a step back. But how could Lin Bao know that Xiaoping had cultivated the top body protection technique, Dark North body protection technique? When he was at the 7th heavenly layer, he could take the attack of the 9th heavenly layer head-on without any damage. When he was promoted to the 8th heavenly layer, his body protection technique became even more powerful. Even a powerhouse who had just entered the martial artist realm would not be able to kill him in one blow. Not to mention that Lin Bao was a fake. He only barely had the strength of a half-step martial artist after eating the crazy demon pill, which was even more impossible to cause any harm to him. Instead, it was still helping him cultivate. This punch is not bad. It's strong enough. Xiaoping looked at Lin Bao indifferently. Just like that, he suddenly made a move. His right hand slapped down in the air, condensing a huge force of 20,000 jin, and the roar of a true dragon sounded in the void. No, no, no. Lin Bao let out a shrill scream and his face was pale. He came here to kill Xiaoping, not to punch this kid. He heard the other party praise him, saying that this punch was not bad. But it was too late to escape. This punch condensed the strength of his life, and there was almost no strength left. It contained the idea of killing. The old force had just gone, and the new force had not yet been generated. He couldn't even move. How could he escape? Boom. This palm hit the top of Lin Bao's head solidly. With a crack, his bones burst on the spot, and the top of his head was torn apart. His head was like a watermelon and blood spread. With a snap, Lin Bao's whole body was slapped hard into the ground, and suddenly a human-shaped pit appeared. The earth trembled and smoke and dust billowed. Lin Bao dead. This. Chu Rong and the others were dumbfounded. They didn't expect this to happen. The bandit leader's hateful blow was for revenge. He condensed the strength of his life and punched out. But this kid just stood there letting the bandit attack him and nothing happened to him. Instead, he was killed by this guy with a backhand slap and his head was smashed. This bandit leader probably didn't expect to die in such a pitiful way. Jianghu was speechless. This bandit leader wouldn't be able to rest in peace even if he went to hell. In order to kill Xiaoping, he took the crazy demon pill and lost 10 years of his life, cutting off any hope of advancing to the martial artist realm. What kind of determination did he have? But now he was killed with a backhand slap as if he was killing a fly. This is the interference device, right? It should be fine as long as I destroy it. Xiaoping didn't think as much as the other women. He took a step forward and found a black interference device on Lin Bao's body, and hung it on his waist. Chapter 106. Entertainment Island. This was an island 20 kilometers away from Beast Island. The island was well equipped with entertainment facilities. There were bars, water parks, and various gourmet restaurants. Moreover, the scenery was beautiful and the seawater was clear. Many people liked to come here for a vacation. Meanwhile, a spaceship was parked in the parking lot of the entertainment island. This time, the teachers, crew members, and the captain of the spaceship were enjoying themselves to the fullest during these 5 days of rest. After all, this was a rare vacation time. At this moment, a crew member was on duty on the spaceship. He was sound asleep with a newspaper covering his head. On the table in front of him was a cup of steaming hot coffee and a half-eaten milk bread. Do. At this moment, the alarm on the spaceship immediately rang. It vibrated violently, scaring the crew member into jumping up. He accidentally dropped the cup of coffee and the coffee spilled all over the floor. What's going on? Could it be that some students couldn't stand the harsh environment on Beast Island and decided to give up? The crew member rubbed his eyes and looked at the red dots on the screen. The appearance of a red dot meant that one person had given up and had to go to the rescue. Wait, what's going on? Why are there so many red dots? Almost all of them have given up. Seeing the densely packed red dots on the screen, the crew member's expression changed drastically. He immediately knew that things had gotten out of hand. In the past trials, even if there were people who had given up, it had never reached the level of collective forfeiture. Moreover, this red dot signal was sent 2 days ago, but we only received it now. Could it be that someone blocked the signal on Beast Island? Thinking of this, the crew member's hair stood on end. He didn't know why someone would do such a thing, but he knew that this matter wasn't something he could handle. He had to report to the captain immediately. 3 minutes later, the spaceship left Entertainment Island and headed towards Beast Island at its fastest speed. The captain, crew members, and teachers from various schools had grave expressions on their faces. Originally, they were still enjoying the beach, seawater, and delicacies on Entertainment Island. However, because of this news, they had to return to the spaceship immediately to deal with this sudden incident. Damn it. Captain Luo Jian's expression was extremely gloomy. Why did we only receive the distress signal 2 days after the students sent it? Are you all here for nothing? I'm sorry. Someone blocked the signal on Beast Island and even simulated the signal. At the same time, we were careless and didn't check carefully, so we didn't notice it. The crew members were ashamed. This was their dereliction of duty. Cut the crap. How much longer until we reach the Beast Island? Qiushu stared at the captain, her body emitting a terrifying murderous aura. She no longer wanted to find out why this had happened. Right now, she only wanted to reach Beast Island as soon as possible and rescue those students. Everyone present knew how serious it was for the students to collectively send out a distress signal. Something that they couldn't handle must have happened, which was why they were forced to call for help. In other words, those students were in danger. Let's move forward at full speed. We'll arrive in 3 minutes. One of the crew members immediately replied. Whoosh. 3 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. The flying ship arrived above Beast Island. Look, those students have been tied up. They're at the peak of the mountain range in the middle of the Beast Island. According to the information transmitted by the signal, the crew used the spaceship's scanning system and immediately saw a group of students tied up on the mountaintop. Their faces were swollen and bruised, and they seemed to have been beaten up badly. There seemed to be a few gunmen beside them. These criminals did not leave with Lin Bao. After all, they still needed someone to watch over these student captives, so they were lucky enough to survive. Oh no, those criminals seem to have discovered something. Are they going to make a move on the students? Looking at the scanning image, Captain Luo Jian's expression changed drastically. He had been through hundreds of battles and could immediately tell that these criminals weren't kind people. The other party knew that they were in a desperate situation. They were still on the deserted island and had nowhere to run. In their desperation, they would definitely want to drag a few people down with them. Those students were in danger. Open the door of the flying ship, Qiushu said coldly. What? The group of people looked at Qiushu in shock. We're 300 meters above the ground. What are you trying to do by opening the door? One of the crew members turned pale with fright. He looked at Qiushu in confusion, thinking that she had gone crazy. Qiushu ignored him and directly stepped forward. She pressed the emergency button to open the cabin door. With a snap, the cabin door opened. Immediately, a terrifying gust of wind whistled in from outside. Whoosh. Before these people could understand what Qiushu was trying to do, she jumped down from the sky. Her entire body was like a cannonball, falling from 300 meters above the ground. Crazy. A group of people watched in shock as autumn snow fell. Falling from such a height, even an expert in the martial artist realm would be smashed to death and die without a complete corpse. Boom, in just a few seconds, Qiushu's entire body was like a cannonball. She reached the ground in an instant. With a bang, the ground shook terrifyingly as if a meteorite had hit the ground. With a few cracking sounds, her feet immediately created a huge deep pit. Hundreds of cracks spread out, extending for several kilometers, and the entire top of the mountain was covered with dense cracks. Some of the mountain rocks were even shattered by the powerful impact. But Qiushu was unscathed. This. Seeing this, the criminals who had wanted to shoot these students were all stunned. The flying ship was clearly still 300 meters above the ground. Why did someone immediately come down? However, the students who thought they were dead were all overjoyed, especially the students from 95th High School. With tears in their eyes, they shouted in surprise, "Teacher, you're here. Don't come over or I'll shoot them immediately." Those criminals were extremely afraid. This woman was simply a monster. She fell from a height of 300 meters and was unscathed. Was this something that a human could do? Shoot them? In front of me, you don't even have time to pull the trigger. There was a trace of coldness in Qiushu's beautiful eyes. With a slap of her palm, the whole world seemed to have entered winter. It was a world of ice and snow, and the temperature dropped sharply. Bang, bang, bang. Those criminals didn't know what was happening at all. They didn't even have time to blink. In just an instant, they were immediately hit by this cold current, and their whole bodies were frozen into ice cubes, turning into ice men. However, the other students were unscathed. They didn't even feel a trace of cold temperature, showing her superb martial arts skills. With a few cracking sounds, the wind blew, and these criminals' ice cubes shattered into countless pieces. Too strong. Many students were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that this beautiful woman was so powerful. Chapter 107. Teacher. At this time, Xia Ping and the others also came up. Jianghu immediately greeted Teacher Qiushu. They all felt very shocked. They didn't expect that the seemingly ordinary teacher would be so powerful. As soon as he made a move, he killed these bandits. Not a single one of them could escape. You guys are okay? Qiushu also looked at Xia Ping and the others with surprise. Seeing that these people were unharmed, she immediately felt very happy. Finally, there were students who didn't fall into the hands of those bandits. Teacher, of course they're fine. We're the ones who aren't. A person shouted in grief and indignation. His eyes stared fiercely at Xia Ping as if he wanted to eat him alive. Qiushu was dumbfounded. Looking at this guy who looked like a pig, she asked, "You, who are you? Are you also a student of my 95th middle school?" Teacher, don't you recognize me? I'm Xiong Badian. The person shouted and immediately revealed his identity. Qiushu's mouth twitched. How did you become like this? She really couldn't tell that this person was Xiong Badian. After all, his face was too horrible to look at. It was simply unrecognizable. It's all Xiaoping's fault. Xiong Badian shouted in grief and indignation. If he wasn't seriously injured, he would immediately go up and fight Xiaoping to death. Don't randomly bite people here. I didn't hit you. Xiaoping felt very wronged. Xiong Badian went crazy. You didn't hit me, but you talked nonsense. Your mouth stinks worse than dog shit. You provoked those bandits to drag us out and beat us up for half an hour. A whole half an hour. He was extremely sad and indignant. This was the darkest half an hour of his life. He had been pampered since he was a child. When had he ever been beaten like this? If it wasn't for this bastard Xiaoping's big mouth, saying that they were childhood friends, this kind of thing wouldn't have happened. This bastard clearly wanted to kill him. Teacher, punish him. This guy is simply a demon. He doesn't pay for killing people. That's right. He's done all kinds of evil. He's even more poisonous than poison. We're so miserable because of him. If we weren't lucky, we would have been killed by him long ago. If we don't punish him, we won't let him go even if we become ghosts. We won't be able to rest in peace. A group of pig-headed people jumped out and criticized Xiaoping, demanding that he be severely punished. They were also very miserable, comparable to Xiong Badian. They originally wanted to speak loudly, but their faces were really too painful. Just saying a few words would pull at their wounds, and the pain would penetrate their hearts. Who are you? Qiushu was a little confused. She couldn't recognize these people who had changed beyond recognition. They had no choice but to introduce themselves. I'm Tao Yun. I'm Goldman Sachs. I am Hong Yu. Qiushu was speechless. How did the top students of her school become like this? Although other students were also beaten, they were not as miserable as these few. It felt as if they were run over with tires several times. It was similar to plastic surgery. However, this was a failed plastic surgery. It was a medical accident. Hello, Xiaoping greeted them. Good my ass. Tao Yun and the others were so angry that their noses were crooked. Seeing them like this, how could it be any better? Yet, this brat was acting as if nothing had happened. If it wasn't for this bastard, how could they be so miserable? Teacher, this bastard is so vicious. He even wants to kill his classmates. The reason why we became like this is because he instigated those bandits to beat us up for half an hour. Tao Yun shouted. Teacher, if you don't punish him, we won't accept it. Xiaoping felt very wronged. What? I said some words to the bandits at that time, but it was all because I was worried about your safety. That's why I said your name so that those bandits wouldn't hurt you. But now, not only are you not grateful, you even blame me, saying that I have a vicious heart. It's really a case of a dog biting the hand that feeds it. It's hard to be a good person nowadays. There are very few people like me who repay evil with good. He sighed, feeling that his good intentions weren't known by others. Good my ass. Tao Yun and the others were so angry that smoke was coming out of their heads. If you were a good person, then there would be no bad people in the world. And if it wasn't for your words before, those bandits would have been moved by them long ago. They wouldn't have beaten them up. But after being criticized by this big mouth, all of them became liars. This made the bandits fly into a rage out of humiliation and beat them even harder than before. Bastard, don't quibble here. Xiong Badian said angrily, didn't you see Han Shan from Jianghu High School? He's the worst. He was beaten up for 45 minutes. He's now unconscious and foaming at the mouth. This is all your evil deeds. Why don't you admit it? He pointed at Han Shan, who was lying on the ground. His face was originally blurry, as if it had been stung by bees. It was swollen and his mouth was still foaming. He looked like a critically ill patient. I think it's better to take him out for treatment. Xiaoping gave his own suggestion. Hearing this, Qiushu immediately came to her senses and said, Yes. You guys still need to bandage your wounds. If there's anything else, we can talk on the spaceship. Don't talk here. At this time, the spaceship also descended from the sky and arrived at the top of the mountain. Xiong Badian and the others were very helpless, but they could only be grabbed by Qiushu and dragged into the spaceship for treatment. Moreover, their injuries were indeed very serious and couldn't be delayed. Whoosh! The spaceship picked up all the students on Beast Island and headed toward Tianshui City. After counting, 5 or 6 students died and more than 100 were injured. Only a few dozen students were not injured. Apart from Xiaoping and the others, Only a few students who were hiding in remote caves and were lucky enough not to be found by the bandits were unharmed. The ins and outs of this matter were also known by Qiushu and the others. They knew that this was an accident. No one thought that a group of bandits would appear on Beast Island. This was a mistake on their part. However, this matter was too serious. If it was leaked, it would definitely have a great impact on the reputation of the 10 schools. They might even be denounced by angry parents and the media would come to interview them. Therefore, they decided to block this news. Each student was rewarded with a body-tempering pill as a hush money. Xia Ping and the others made great contributions. They killed many bandits and saved the lives of many students. Each of them was rewarded with 3 pills. Although Xiong Badian and the others were indignant, they couldn't do anything about it. However, things had developed to this point. The trial naturally couldn't continue. Everyone decided to immediately return to Qianshui City and send some seriously injured students to the hospital for emergency treatment. Chapter 108. Evening. When the spaceship arrived at Qianshui City, it was already evening. The students had already left school, and there was no one in the entire school except for the security guards. Xia Ping got off the spaceship and went straight back home. Anyway, there was nothing for him to do now. The teachers would naturally arrange for the injured students to be taken care of. When he was halfway there, he found that his phone was vibrating and emitting a notification sound from time to time. It seemed that there was a large amount of information being transmitted. Before entering the Beast Island trial, his phone was asked to be turned off and was still on the spaceship. Naturally, he had no way of knowing who had contacted him during this time. It's editor Meng Fei? Xia Ping picked up his phone and immediately saw dozens of phone calls and 15 to 16 video call requests. The most recent one was even half an hour ago. Why are you looking for me in such a hurry? Is something the matter? He subconsciously clicked on the video call connection. Beep. Immediately, the video call was connected, and editor Meng Fei's figure was immediately projected. The other party revealed a joyful look and said, "I can finally contact you." That's great. Teacher Black-Hearted Wolf, where have you been these days? Why can't I contact you? I went to participate in the school trial. Xia Ping briefly explained his whereabouts for the past few days. By the way, why are you so anxious to contact me? Is there something important? Of course there's something important. Meng Fei immediately smiled. Have you forgotten? It's been more than a month, and the royalties for your book have been sent to your bank account. I just wanted to inform you. Congratulations, the novel, Teacher by Rong, has really become very popular this month. I've been in the industry for so many years, but this is the first time I've seen such a grand occasion. It's simply being chased by hundreds of millions of people. He sighed repeatedly. No one knew better than him how popular this novel was. Very popular? Xia Ping also knew that his novel was popular, but he didn't have a particularly clear concept. Seeing Xia Ping's dumbfounded look, Meng Fei said resentfully, "Teacher Black-Hearted Wolf, why don't you take a look at how much money you have in your bank account first?" Hearing this, Xia Ping subconsciously opened his bank account, and suddenly a series of numbers appeared on it. He was also surprised. No way, more than 50 million federal coins, is this a mistake? Seeing the numbers on the bank account, he was also stunned. This was more than 50 million federal coins, a huge sum of money, and it was completely legal. Unlike the golden potion, red blood fruit, etc., which he had obtained before, although the value was amazing, he couldn't cash it at all, nor could he use it to improve his family's life. There's no mistake, it is more than 50 million. Seeing Xia Ping's surprised look, Meng Fei also smiled, his face revealing an excited expression. Did you know? This month, the novel Teacher by Rong has sold more than 4 million copies, and the momentum has not slowed down at all. I was wrong before. Not only can this novel sell more than 10 million copies this year, it won't be a problem even if it sells more than 50 million copies. I can even look forward to it selling more than 100 million copies. If someone had told him a month ago that an erotic novel might sell more than 100 million copies, he wouldn't have believed it. He would have thought that it was bullshit and a fantasy. But now it was different. This phenomenal erotic novel had broken all sales records and shocked the eyes of countless people. 100 million. Xia Ping's pupils shrank. A novel cost 25 federal coins. If he could sell 100 million copies according to the 50-50 split, even after deducting taxes, he could still get more than 1 billion federal coins. How was this making money? It was clearly robbery. No, even if it was robbery it wouldn't be so fast. It was estimated that even drug dealers wouldn't have such a huge profit. It was too amazing. Before, there were top novelists who could earn more than $1 billion a year. He only saw it as news, but he didn't expect that he was about to step into this ranks and enter the realm of top novelists. This was really incredible. And this was also a huge sum of money. Han Shan was so arrogant. His family opened a factory with assets of only 1 billion, and it took him more than 20 years to reach this level. But Xiaoping only needed 1 year to surpass the other party's more than 20 years of hard work. If this matter was known, it would definitely be shocking. Teacher Black-Hearted Wolf, in fact, there is another important thing I want to discuss with you this time. Editor Meng Fei hesitated and said to Xiaoping. Xiaoping blinked his eyes. Go ahead, what's the matter? It's like this. Meng Fei thought about the wording. Because this novel is too popular, it has also been discovered by people in the film and television industry. A famous director contacted me and said that he wants to adapt this novel into a TV series and make 100 episodes. Adapt it into a TV series? Hearing this, the corner of Xiaoping's mouth twitched. This was an erotic novel. How could it be adapted into a TV series and make 100 episodes? It was too exaggerated. As if seeing Xiaoping's surprised eyes, Meng Fei said, No, this is not exaggerated at all. Don't underestimate the strength of a screenwriter. Even a pile of shit can add a lot of seasoning to it. If it sells very well, not to mention 100 episodes, even 1,000 episodes is not a problem. Xiaoping touched his chin. What do you think about this? He wanted to hear the opinion of a professional. Promise him. Meng Fei immediately said, If a novel is made into a TV series or a movie, it is the best publicity. It will greatly promote the sales of the novel. I think this is a good opportunity. Xiaoping also admitted this. In his previous life there was a martial arts master, Jin Yong. It was because his novels were put on the TV screen one by one, which led to a geometric increase in influence. In terms of publicity alone, the dissemination of TV was not comparable to other media. It could be imagined that once his novel was made into a TV series, the sales of the novel would explode in an instant. It would not be a problem to sell 100 million copies a year. In fact, in countries without piracy such as Japan, even if they lost money, they were willing to make a light novel into an anime, because this could greatly increase the sales of the novel and make money from other places. Of course, there was no such benefit in places with piracy. Well, we can talk about it. Xiaoping nodded. Meng Fei smiled. Great, in fact, the director also wants to talk to you about the adaptation. Why don't we set the time for tomorrow morning? Let's have a video call and have a 3-party discussion. He set a time for the discussion. Okay. Chapter 109. It actually sold more than 4 million copies this month. It's really amazing. After ending the call with editor Meng Fei, Xiaoping was also shocked by the sales results of his novel. Even though he knew that this was a heaven-defying novel, he did not expect it to achieve such results. By the way, let's go to the internet and see how the reviews are. Thinking of this, Xiaoping immediately picked up his mobile phone, clicked on the page and searched for the novel Teacher by Rong. With a ding sound, the related page of the novel Teacher by Rong immediately popped up on the search page, and there were a total of 89.8 million related results. Amazing. Xiaoping was dumbfounded. In his previous life, if a work had 1 million related search results, it would be considered a hit and could be called a popular work. For example, the most popular comic book, One Piece, had more than 70 million related results. This was already a phenomenal work and almost everyone knew about it. But now it had reached more than 80 million. Even though Yanhuang Star had a population several times larger than that of the Earth, it could be seen how popular this novel was. First on the monthly novel sales list. Xiaoping quickly saw one of the pages which counted countless novel works this month, including romance, urban, fantasy, science fiction, suspense, reasoning and so on. But when all these works were ranked, the first was Teacher by Rong, which sold more than 4 million copies, while the second place only sold more than 1 million copies. The gap was too big. First on the search volume list, first on the ranking list, first on the hot topic list, first on the 3 lists. Xiaoping was very excited. This month, the novel Teacher by Rong almost dominated all kinds of novel lists. Even if he did not continue to hype up the topic with the quality of the novel, coupled with the full promotion of Penguin, it still attracted countless readers. Let's go to the Tianying forum and take a look. Xiaoping's heart moved and immediately entered the Tianying forum. There were many people in this place and he should be able to see a lot of readers' fair comments on Teacher by Rong. He immediately saw the first hot post, the title of which read, Heavy, Jianghu, a master of erotic novels, commented on the new novel of the year, Teacher by Rong. This is a work that appears once in 50 years. According to the reporter's interview, Master Jianghu said at that time that he didn't know about this novel at first, and then an editor of Penguin asked him to take a look and comment on it. I said at the time that I, Jianghu, am not a casual person. I don't have to read it just because you tell me to. I'm still reserved and I don't read any erotic novel. But I read it later. I'm a soft-hearted person and can't take a compliment. Besides, they gave me money. I can't go against money. But I didn't expect this old man to be fascinated at that time. I read it for 3 days and 3 nights and it was really memorable. I haven't read such an excellent erotic novel for a long time. It described the emotional entanglement of a teacher and many men. Although the story was simple, it was full of tension and twists and turns. It was extremely moving and gripping. The intense description contains a hint of simplicity. Although it is an erotic novel, it is thought-provoking. After reading it, there is a hint of sadness as if my heart is empty. Although I don't know who the author is, I can see that he is very intelligent. In time he will definitely be able to carry the banner of erotic novels and become a master. After reading it, Xiaoping exclaimed in admiration. No wonder the topic of this novel has been around for a long time. It must be the website editor who found famous authors to recommend it and gave money to the master. With the recommendation of famous authors, it would naturally attract more readers, which was equivalent to advertising. There were also a bunch of readers commenting on this post. The master is indeed a master. He is old but still strong. I didn't expect to read it for 3 days and 3 nights. I can't tell that the master is an old man in his 70s or 80s. It's just an erotic novel. How can the master see simplicity? Why do I see a green hat? The master's heart is empty and my body is weak. I don't know how many supplements I need to eat to make up for it. Harming others and myself. Because of the master's recommendation, I went to see it. I didn't expect that one night would pass. The next day I almost couldn't walk. When I went to the hospital, the doctor said I had kidney deficiency. Sigh, this novel is a scourge. Since reading this novel, I don't know why, but I have a different view of the female teacher who weighs more than 300 pounds in class. The big brother above has such a heavy taste. This little brother admires it. Let me remind you a little. Assaulting a female teacher is at least 3 years, and the maximum is indefinite. Do as you see fit. Many readers were commenting and the atmosphere was very hot. All of a sudden, there were 108,937 replies. It could be imagined that the popularity of Master Jianghu was not for show. He was old but vigorous. He continued to read. Not only Master Jianghu but also Master Bao Pikhang seemed to have commented, "This erotic novel Teacher by Rong is a rare masterpiece in recent years. Although it is a bit exaggerated to see it once in 50 years, it is no problem to see it once in 10 years. The twists and turns in the story are bizarre and have a strong appeal, causing a strong resonance with the readers." Moreover, this novel has also set off a trend of erotic novels. The so-called teacher genre has appeared, causing countless erotic novelists to imitate it one after another. It can be said to be the founder of this genre. There have been people who have written erotic novels about teachers before, but this is the first time the author has caused such a trend. This is a pioneering work and I am very optimistic about his next work. Seeing this, Xiaoping also clicked on the Penguin webpage and sure enough he immediately saw many trend-following works on the list such as My Beautiful Teacher, Teacher Falls in Love with Me, Beautiful Teacher and the Story I Have to Tell, Beautiful Teacher in the Boys' School, and so on. Even if these works were just following the trend and could not achieve the same results as Teacher by Rong, they did bring this trend and barely made a living. From this perspective, it can be seen that Teacher by Rong has become a phenomenal novel and has become a benchmark in the industry. Even the erotic novelists have been affected. It's really too popular. After reading these comments, Xiaoping was very excited. If he waited for his novel to be adapted into a TV series, it was estimated that it would cause a more popular trend and the number of sales would increase greatly. Rumble, rumble. At this moment, a drumming sound came from his stomach. He touched his stomach. I seem to be a little hungry. Let's go home and have a look. I wonder if Dad is at home. Chapter 110. After returning home, Xiaoping immediately saw a familiar figure busy in the kitchen. There was a fragrant smell of food in the dining room. This person was his mother, Huang Lanxin. "Mom, are you discharged from the hospital?" Xiaoping cried in surprise. Huang Lanxin smiled slightly. "Yes, it's all right. The hospital's nutrient solution treatment is not bad. The doctor told me to lie in the hospital for a few days, but I didn't want to, so I chose to leave the hospital." Xiaoping looked over and found that his mother's complexion was good, and there was no inconvenience in her movements. Obviously she had been completely cured, even better than before. It was not in vain for him to spend so much money. However, the hospital cost is too expensive, hundreds of thousands. Thinking of spending so much money, Huang Lanxin felt a burst of heartache. She had never spent so much money in her life except for buying a house. Xiaoping patted his chest. "It's okay, I don't have any advantages, but I can make money. Keep bragging." Hearing this, his father, Xia Chuanlu, who was sitting at the table, looked contemptuous. "You have another advantage, that is, you are thick-skinned and you have 30% of your father's skill. How is it bragging?" Huang Lanxin was suddenly dissatisfied and glared at Xia Chuanlu. "If it weren't for my son, would you have the ability to take out hundreds of thousands? You have worked for more than 20 years, but you are not as good as my son in 1 year." She also knew that the medical expenses were paid by her son, and Xia Chuanlu had told her about it before. When Xia Chuanlu heard this, his heart seemed to be greatly hurt, and he could no longer say a word. He was also very aggrieved that he didn't make as much money as his son. It was too shameful. "Mom, you can't say that. Dad's ability to spend money is still good." Xiaoping hit. Huang Lanxin snorted. "He only knows how to spend money, smoke, gamble and play mahjong, this prodigal son." Ahem. Xia Chuanlu felt that if he continued to talk like this, his position as the head of the family would be lost. He said, "Son, let's not talk about this first. We have to talk about the novel you wrote. This novel is very problematic. To be honest, after knowing that my son wrote a novel, I also went up to criticize it." Xiaoping blinked. "Dad, what's the problem? And you still say there's a problem? This problem is huge." Xia Chuan revealed a pained expression. "Son, I know about your situation. There is indeed a female teacher in class and she is the form teacher. She is young and beautiful and her figure is not bad. She is like an actress. But she's a teacher. She's older than you by a few years. It's impossible for the two of you to be together. Just the difference in their statuses is a huge gap. There's no future for a teacher-student relationship. There are plenty of fish in the sea, why do you have to be so attached to a single flower?" He patiently tried to persuade his son to return to the right path. "Dad, Xiaoping was speechless. But before Xiaoping could say anything, Xia Chuanlu waved his hand and said, "Son, there's no need to say anything. I also know that it's normal for students to have a crush on beautiful female teachers. Back then your dad's school didn't have any beautiful young female teachers. They were all aunties who weighed more than 100 kilograms. Otherwise I would have had a crush on them. This is called the budding of youth." "That's right, it's called the budding of youth. However, you can't be too agitated. If you are too agitated, you will attack a beautiful female teacher. This is a crime. You are still young, so you must not do it, understand? More than 3 years in prison." He looked at his son with a very serious face. After reading his son's novel, he knew that it was not without reason that the novel could be popular. But the description was too vivid. It felt as if it was seen with his own eyes. If there was no personal experience and no fantasy of doing this kind of thing with the teacher, how could it be written? Therefore, he was very worried that his son would sooner or later embark on the road of attacking female teachers. "Dad, you think too much." The corner of Xiaoping's mouth twitched. "Yes, I think about things here and there all day long. I haven't thought about anything serious." Huang Lanxin also patted Xia Chuanlu's head and felt that this guy was just messing around here. "Don't I know what kind of person my son is? He definitely doesn't have the guts. Of course, even if he really does that kind of thing, it's the fault of that female teacher. She dresses in fancy clothes all day long and only knows how to seduce men here. Shameless." Xia Chuanlu suddenly didn't dare to speak. He knew that his wife was jealous. If this continued, he would probably have to sleep in the living room tonight. This was all experienced. "By the way, Dad, I just paid the royalties a few days ago." Xiaoping didn't want to continue discussing this issue and directly changed the topic. "I want to take out some money to improve the family's life. I don't know what you think? Earning money is for consumption and to improve life. If you don't spend it, it's useless to keep it in the bank. Moreover, his parents have raised him for many years. It's okay if he doesn't have the ability, but it's wrong if he doesn't do it when he has the ability. No, you can keep this money for yourself. We are still young and strong and we don't need our son to support us. Huang Lanxin looked at her son kindly. She was very satisfied with her son's intentions. Xia Chuanlu asked curiously, royalties? Son, how much is your royalties? Not much, just over 50 million federal coins. Xia Ping said casually. Ah. Hearing this number, Xia Chuanlu took a breath, widened his eyes and trembled. Son, say it again, how much is the royalties? Huang Lanxin was also stunned, as if she couldn't believe what she heard. I said there are more than 50 million federal coins. Xia Ping smiled slightly. He casually clicked on his phone and immediately projected the bank account, showing the balance on it. Seeing this scene, both Xia Chuanlu and Huang Lanxin were stunned, and their whole bodies were trembling. When have they ever seen such a large number? Tens of thousands of federal coins are considered a huge sum of money. More than 50 million federal coins? That was an astronomical figure. Son. Xia Chuanlu looked up to the sky and sighed. The most correct investment your father has made in his life is to give birth to you. Earning more than 50 million at such a young age, why don't you go to heaven? Your father was wrong just now. Don't you just want to pick up a beautiful teacher? No problem at all. Go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter if you get a few back. Nurses, doctors, salespeople, stewardesses, train attendants, and so on. He was very emotional. He had earned so much money at the age of 18. In the future, it would be no problem for him to have a teacher-student relationship. Xia Ping was speechless. How many movies did his father watch? In the future, I will have a dozen children make a football team and strengthen the Xia family. Mother Huang Lanxin also nodded, her face excited, and she had a plan for the future. Chapter 111. Knowing that Xia Ping had earned more than 50 million federal coins in a month and might even earn more in the future, Xia Chuanlu and his wife were excited to the extreme. They were all ready to take a sum of money to travel around the world. When they got married, they were very poor and didn't even have the time or opportunity to go on a honeymoon. Now they were taking advantage of this opportunity to make up for it. Xia Ping wouldn't refuse. Anyway, money was meant to be spent, so he gave his parents 10 million federal coins and let them spend it however they wanted. This was also a small token of his appreciation as a son. While Xia Chuanlu and his wife were excitedly talking about where to go on a global tour, Xia Ping returned to his bedroom to rest because he had been tossing and turning for a long time after returning from Beast Island and was tired. Soon the night passed. Because the next day was the weekend, there was no need to go to school. Xia Ping slept soundly until 10 o'clock the next morning before getting up. He brushed his teeth and washed his face before eating breakfast. At this time he returned to his bedroom and received a video call from editor Meng Fei. Beep. Xia Ping immediately connected the video communication request. Soon, editor Meng Fei's virtual projection appeared in front of him and immediately said, "Teacher Black-Hearted Wolf, are you free now? I'll introduce you to a director." Okay. Xia Ping nodded. He also remembered what editor Meng Fei said to him yesterday. It seemed that there was a director who wanted to adapt his novel into a TV series and shoot 100 episodes or something. With a beep, another video communication request came. He pressed OK. Then a virtual projection appeared in the room. Suddenly, a fat man wearing a black suit appeared. He was 167 meters tall and weighed 100 kilograms. He also wore black-rimmed glasses and looked very wretched. This is the author of Teacher by Rong, Black-Hearted Wolf. When the fat man saw Xia Ping's appearance, he was stunned, as if he couldn't believe that this young man was the author of the recently popular novel. After all, this novel was written with an experienced style and didn't seem like something a young man could write. "That's right, this is Teacher Black-Hearted Wolf," editor Meng Fei explained, dispelling the fat man's doubts. The fat man immediately sighed and said, "It's really better to see than to know. If those fans know that the author of the famous Teacher by Rong is actually an 18-year-old young man, they will definitely be shocked." "This is?" Xia Ping asked. The fatty immediately came to his senses and quickly said, "My name is Wang Dachui, a famous director of that kind of film. I've shot Time Stands Still, The Transparent World, and other famous blockbusters." He was triumphant and boastful. "Oh, so it's a hammer?" Xia Ping suddenly realized. Fatty Wang Dachui immediately went berserk. What are you talking about? You're the hammer your whole family is. Alright, I know your name now. I'm a very equal person and I treat everyone the same. I won't discriminate against him just because he's a hammer. Xia Ping waved his hand, not caring at all. Upon hearing this, Fatty Wang Dachui became even more depressed. He protested, I'm not a hammer. Alright. Let's get down to business. Editor Meng Fei quickly steered the topic back to business. When Fatty Wang Dachui heard this, he immediately coughed a few times and said, You're right, teacher Black-Hearted Wolf. This time, I'm here to adapt your novel into an adult action blockbuster TV series and shoot 100 episodes. This is an unprecedented feat in this world. It has never happened before. If it succeeds, it will definitely take the world by storm and set a precedent for blockbusters. We'll all become celebrities and stand on the monument of the adult world. He spoke passionately about his great dream. After all, this kind of film had always been one. Even if there was a so-called sequel, it would never be in the form of a TV series. He was not lying when he said that this was a pioneering effort. However, after a long time, Xia Ping did not react at all. Fatty Wang Dachui was depressed and said, Big brother, why don't you feel excited at all? You have to know that we're creating history. We're walking at the forefront of an era. I only care about how much money you can give me. Xia Ping was a very honest person. Hearing this, Fatty Wang Dachui immediately shouted, Vulgar, this is really too vulgar. As a cultured person, how can you talk about money? Talking about money hurts feelings. Xia Ping turned to look at editor Meng Fei. That means that this fatty is not only a hammer but also a pauper? Although I don't want to admit it, he is indeed a pauper, editor Meng Fei admitted. Fatty Wang Dachui was unconvinced. Who's a pauper? I just happen to have no money on hand. We usually call this kind of person a pauper. Xia Ping calmly analyzed the situation for him. Hearing this, Wang Dachui was instantly deflated. He was dealt a terrible blow. Editor. Xia Ping turned to look at Meng Fei. You brought this fatty here just to entertain me? I have to say, this kind of entertainment is very successful. Let's call it a day. Looking at this fatty, he knew that he was a guy who wanted to get something for nothing. He probably wanted to take away his TV series adaptation rights without spending much money. This was simply a dream. If it was not for the editor bringing him here, he would not even talk to him. No. Wait, I'm really a director. I'm really a big director. Fatty Wang Dachui cried and actually wanted to hug Xia Ping's thigh. If you give me the adaptation rights, I'll definitely be able to get investments and make a blockbuster. You'll earn a lot. The corner of Xia Ping's mouth twitched. This fatty was the best. Not only did he have no money on him, but he also wanted to use his novel adaptation rights to get investments. This method of getting something for nothing was very clever. Teacher Black-Hearted Wolf, don't worry. I'm not tricking you. Seeing this fatty's expression, editor Meng Fei felt very embarrassed. However, he still said seriously, this Wang Dachui was indeed a very capable director back then. He produced many outstanding adult action blockbusters. He's quite capable. But this guy's lustful mind didn't change. He actually wanted to sleep with an actress but failed. What's worse was that the actress had a rich backer who was very powerful. In the end, he was unlucky. He was directly kicked out of the industry and had to sleep on the streets. No one dared to ask him to film anymore. Xia Ping was speechless. How unlucky was this damn fatty? He actually failed to sleep with an actress in that kind of film. What else could he succeed in? So you're quite capable? Thinking of this, he felt that he could temporarily talk to this fatty. After all, he also wanted to adapt this novel into a TV series to expand the influence of the novel. Hearing this, Wang Dachui stood up with a grunt and said excitedly, Don't worry. No matter what, I'm experienced. Getting investments is not a problem at all. Of course, if you can give me some investments, that would be even better. Chapter 112. To be honest, Fatty Wang Dachui was suppressed, and he made a few bad movies after that, causing some investors to lose all their money. This made many investors hate him to the bone. It could be said that his reputation was already bad, and he couldn't get any investments at all. Otherwise he wouldn't be so poor. At least he made a few blockbuster movies in the past. You still want me to invest? Xia Ping clenched his fists and had the urge to hit someone. This fatty had a good plan. If he invested, he probably wouldn't even need to pay for the adaptation of the novel. Of course. Fatty Wang Dachui said seriously, I'm not tricking you. If you invest, you can have 100% of the copyright of this TV series, and you can also have 100% of the profits. If it can become popular, the money earned will definitely be more than selling novels. Xia Ping's eyes flickered. It was indeed as Wang Dachui said. If he could have all the copyright of this TV series, the profits would naturally be great. Moreover, he was also very confident in adapting his novel into a TV series. He thought for a moment. If this TV series is made, where do you plan to broadcast it? For an adult blockbuster like this, ordinary television stations probably wouldn't allow it to be broadcast. Even if he wanted to go to the cinema, he wouldn't be qualified. Of course it's on the internet. Fatty Wang Dachui had already thought about it. He said excitedly, the income from online videos is no less than the income from television stations. Moreover, the higher the click rate, the more advertising fees we can earn. Maybe you don't know, on video websites, one click is worth $0.33 federal dollars. If we can make a video with over 100 million clicks, we can earn 33 million federal dollars. But a video like this costs only 500,000 federal dollars to make. If it's filmed, we can earn 50 to 60 times the cost. Even if we speculate in the stock market, we won't earn that much. He was like a salesman trying to persuade Xia Ping. But even so, how could it be that easy to make a video have more than 100 million clicks? Most of the videos posted on the website would only have a few clicks and no one would know about it. There were also quite a number of people who lost everything they had. Interesting. Xia Ping seriously considered the feasibility of this matter. The cost was low and the profits were high. If it could become popular, it would be better to just shoot it himself. There was no need to give the copyright to others. Seeing this, Fatty Wang Dachui struck while the iron was hot. Big brother, I've already thought about it. We'll use the new adult actress Lin Meikong as the female lead. She looks pure and has a hot figure. She can be said to be a child with a huge X face. She will definitely attract the attention of most men. What about men? Just find a few. Many men will do it even if they don't want money. After failing for a few years, he had learned to be meticulous in his calculations and save as much as he could. Because the main character is a teacher, he has to wear better clothes. Xia Ping gave his opinion. It can't be an old-fashioned uniform. It has to be a black and white suit with high heels, stockings, black-rimmed glasses and a ponytail. Even if you want to refuse, don't. Big brother. Hearing this, Wang Dachui was completely convinced. He looked at Xia Ping with admiration. No wonder you can write such a masterpiece and set the trend. I didn't expect you to understand men so well. You're amazing. Such a woman is simply the dream lover of all men. If I had such a teacher back then, I would have gone to a top university long ago. Just imagining that kind of outfit made him feel a little malnourished. Editor Meng Fei was also full of admiration. Why else would he say that he was a master who could write such a novel? Just this suggestion alone was already superior. Just imagining that kind of scene made them unable to accept it. Cough cough. You flatter me. Xia Ping said modestly, I don't have much ability. If you want to know why I'm so capable, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. If Newton in his previous life heard him use this famous saying here, he would probably jump out of his coffin in anger. Shoot it immediately. Fatty Wang Dachui could not wait any longer. Even if we don't shoot 100 episodes, we can shoot 10 episodes first to test the waters. It's not a lot of money, just 5 million federal dollars. His creative soul was burning. He had to shoot this masterpiece. He felt that this work could very well turn his life around. Okay, let's sign a contract. Xia Ping thought about it and immediately made a decision. It was only 5 million federal dollars anyway, not too much. It would be good if it succeeded, but even if it failed, it would not hurt too much. After all, his monthly royalties were 50 million federal dollars. This amount of money was simply a drop in the bucket. Soon, editor Meng Fei took out the contract. He specialized in this industry and was very familiar with the channels. The three parties immediately signed the contract, temporarily settling the matter. Then Xia Ping transferred 5 million federal dollars to Fatty Wang Dachui's account. Big brother, don't worry. I will definitely not tarnish this work. I will definitely present the charm of this work on the screen. Fatty Wang Dachui had a sacred look on his face. Xia Ping coughed. Okay, then I'll wait and see. After saying that, he hung up the communication video and ended the call with Wang Dachui and Meng Fei. Okay, continue cultivating. The high school fighting competition is in 2 weeks. I can't waste time on this kind of thing. Xia Ping clenched his fist. Making money from his work was just an auxiliary method. It was still martial arts cultivation. He could still distinguish the priority. At this time, editor Meng Fei and Fatty Wang Dachui were communicating. Brother Meng, thank you. If it weren't for you, I might not be able to make a comeback in this life. I would have to quit this industry. Wang Dachui was very grateful. Meng Fei waved his hand. You're welcome. You have to seize the opportunity yourself. Don't mess it up again. Otherwise, even the gods can't save you. Of course, I'm very confident in this work. Wang Dachui was full of confidence. According to the topic of this work and its popularity, it won't fail at all. Moreover, if the identity of the author is revealed when the video is released, it will definitely have a very good publicity effect. He had thought of a series of publicity methods. Xia Ping did not expect this damn fatty to actually plan to trick him. How long will it take you to finish shooting these 10 episodes? Meng Fei asked. Wang Dachui thought for a moment and said, originally, it would take 3 days to finish one episode, but if it's urgent, 1 day is enough. I'm known as the quick shooter director Wang in the industry. There's nothing I can't do. With the post-production editing, 2 weeks will be enough. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.